the Public Works Committee meeting. We will give you 4 minutes. You can come up to the podium. Please state your name and address. Okay, seeing none, we are going to move on to public comments online. Are there any? No?
There is no online public comment.
Okay, so I am going to close public comment at 6:08 p.m. Head to new matters before the committee. This evening, we have a petition from Narragansett Electric and Verizon New England for installation of a stub pole on Hayward Street and Park Avenue. We've received a letter corresponding from Director Correo, and that statement says that this proposed pole will be in conflict with Main Street enhancement along Park Avenue from Reservoir to Pontiac. Therefore, he's recommending a denial. So I am recommending that I get a motion.
Motion to deny.
Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, may I please get the roll?
Councilman Andujar,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Banano,
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan,
yes,
Councilwoman Graziano,
Yes,
Council President Wall.
Yes.
thank you. Petition on the docket is for Narragansett Electric and Verizon New England for installation of a new pole on Park Ave in Southern Street. There's a correspondence that we've received from Director Correo stating that he recommends approval. Can I get a motion to approve?
motion to approve,
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, may I get the roll?
Councilman Andujar,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Banano,
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan,
yes,
Councilwoman Graziano,
Yes.
Council President Wall.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So now we're headed to council communications. We're going to start with the chairs, which is mine. The first, the first item on the agenda is review of snow and ice operations for salt and sanding of streets. I am the chair of the Public Works Committee, so a lot of the correspondences the council members from constituents come through me. And while that is great and I don't mind, you know, I've been trying to understand how these operations work during storms. And I feel like there's a serious flaw in our current process. So when a resident calls about an unplowed street or an unsafe sidewalk or missed pass of a street after a storm, time matters. And these are not abstract complaints. They affect public safety, access, emergency vehicles, and whether people can safely leave their homes. Yet under our current system, there is no way for that concern to reach the department responsible for addressing it. And instead, a resident contacts one of us, one of the council members reaches out to the city. That message is circulated internally and routed back through council, sent to administration, and then forwarded to Public Works. By the time this issue reaches the people who can effectively fix it, a number of minutes, times, hours have passed. This is not a staffing issue. This is not for a lack of effort. It's a structural problem. We've built a process that prioritizes internal routing over rapid response, even in situations where delays can create real safety risks. City council should not be the intake system for operational emergencies. Residents should not need to know who their counselor is to report an unplowed street, and councilors should not be acting as intermediate for issues that require immediate departmental attention. Other cities handle this through direct department intake, centralized service request platforms, or real-time reporting tools during storms. These systems reduce confusion, improve response times, and allow departments to prioritize resources more effectively. If we are serious about public safety, then we need to fix this. Snow removal is predictable. These problems are predictable and delays should not be. I'm asking that we modernize how constituent services, especially time-sensitive ones like snow removal, are handled. So residents can get faster responses and city council can focus on oversight policy instead of acting as a relay point to an inefficient system. I would really like to work with DPW and the administration on this matter. In the last storm, received a number of complaints about different issues around the city. And again, I'm not placing blame on the administration or the DPW staff. I'm placing blame on the system that we have set up, and I'm just calling for a better system. So I am happy to meet with the administration and DPW and work on this matter to make it more efficient. I work for municipality and none of this goes through the select board. It goes directly through the police, and I'm not suggesting that, but it's a smaller town, but dispatched through police and then directly to the people in the plows. They know their snow routes. They know where the people are going. They know the staff that's plowing that evening. And I understand we're a city, but I think we can be more efficient. On top of that, if a storm happens during working hours, I'm not available to stop my position in a municipality that I work for where I'm getting paid and do work for the city. So that would be really inefficient if it was coming through my office. So I just wanted to put that out there. And if anyone from administration or Director Correa wants to respond, I'm happy to listen.
First of all, this is the first we've heard of a problem. In fact, we worked quite successfully with previous councils. Apparently, this council is not working effective. So we'd be more than happy to see what this council would like. Again, in the past, we've got actually compliments to how well the system worked, how efficient it was. So be happy to improve it if you believe that there's reason to improve it. But if you could please come up with the proposals to us, if you forward it to us for consideration, then sure, we could get together.
That would be great. Thank you. I mean, I guess so it came to my mind in the sense of like, what happens if it's on a Monday and I'm at work 8 to 5? So how would I can't, it's illegal for me to not work. So like, that's my point. Like how would I then send out the emails? I can't do that. So then all my emails that I get from constituents go not responded to, you know?
First of all, constituents, they do receive phone calls directly at DPW. So they don't have to go through any channels if you wish. That would
Maybe
be
we
one
could
thing.
work together to develop something to put out there for social media and communications to get something out there to let people know what the best contact would be. And if they can't get a hold of anybody, yes, they should call their council person.
I got to tell you this, though, they'll get barraged there. This is a city, I think your town is about population of 13,000. Cranston is about 83,000. So there is a difference of scale. So you might have to employ different mechanisms for organization. So it's not for confusion, disruption, and which could cause actually more problems than you think. So that also should be considered, that we're a larger city, that we have to consider with 325 miles of roadway. We need to keep that in mind too.
Thank you. No, I appreciate your openness to work with the council. I'm going to let Councilman Ritz take it for a minute, and then I'll say something to finalize it.
Thank you. I'm not on this committee, but I just had one comment to make. I think part of it is the expectation of the public. And I think if there's policies or procedures around there that we could help share with the public, I think that would help a lot too when we get phone calls. Whereas I don't know if it's so many inches, we plow the street once and then we'll come back in. If there's anything you can give us to kind of help stop that barrage of calls there too, that we could share on social media, or even when we get emails from constituents, we would know the answer to say, all right, this street, only gets plowed once because it's a side street, or whatever the rules are to. Anything like that would be a big help too.
It's very difficult to tell you as a storm progresses what's going to be done. It's very difficult within 2 hours to know when to call DPW crews in. Some storms will go 1.5 inches, you end up with 4 or 5 inches. It's a different storm versus treating roads with sand and salt versus plowing. They're all different. They truly are, including these last storms. You don't know till it's happening. The last storm, the last one lasts about 10 to 12 hours. it was forecasted to last about 5 hours, two complete different operations at that point. So to communicate during those storms, we'll try to do it, but come up with some concerns you have and suggestions for improving it, we'll certainly be happy to consider it.
Councilman Bonanno?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I do want to say that I've witnessed firsthand the operation and the men and women, frankly, that are in the middle of the storm do a fantastic job in the moment. I think this conversation needs to have that be said. I think that having operated a small snowplow business just for driveways and college and stuff like that, it's complicated, and you cannot predict what's going to happen. We all know the weather in New England is unpredictable at best. So it's extremely difficult, I think, to pregame and then have that game plan not be able to be altered in the future. I think that the issue itself isn't the operation. The issue itself is not what actually happens. I think we do a good job. It's a big city. And I think, the administration does well. I think that all the council might be asking for is the ability to answer our constituents with real-time information. That's the worst answer I can give a constituent is, I don't know, because they have an expectation of us that we know stuff. You know what I mean? And I don't feel as though it's necessary or it's helpful for 9 of us to be calling, for instance, the director of administration. That's going to hinder the operation as well, because you guys, you and Director Correo and the public and the highway director, they have stuff to worry about besides us calling and then for trying to find out information during a snowstorm. So I would just say, the good work is good. Continue the good work. The only thing that I would say I would like to have more of is a little bit communication when possible during a storm, before a storm, or after a storm, so we can help you communicate with the constituents.
If you can put together what information you're looking for, because right now I don't know what that is.
Absolutely.
I don't know what we can respond to if you don't ask us. So once you ask us, we can respond. But so far, no one's asked us. This would be the first time in this audience.
I want to
So it would
point
be
out,
helpful if we did know, so we could
I want to
help
point
respond
out
to you.
the last storm, just for an example. The last storm, I got a call from a constituent about trash pickup. The last storm was after Christmas, so trash pickup was delayed that week because of Christmas. Then we had a snowstorm on Saturday, which was this person's pickup day, which would normally be Friday. So on a Saturday, not a regular work day, I reached out to the administration and they got back to me on Sunday to make sure that constituent put out their trash for Monday. I'm sure that wasn't the only person that had that question. You know what I mean?
It was one person in the
Yeah.
city that you had, yes. There
Yeah.
was one, out of 83,000, there was one person.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
that's the only one that asked
And
me.
as you know, myself and the people in the department worked overtime to remedy that situation because it was not safe. Waste management was to pick up on the Friday, was not able to because at the time they were out on that particular road, it was too dangerous. They deemed it too dangerous for their employees to get, to manage their trucks. So there was one resident that didn't get their trash picked up that day, and we made a point of communicating it to you immediately and the resident so that their trash was picked up on the Monday.
Exactly.
The very next day. So I thought we did a phenomenal job.
Yeah,
on
that's
that
my-
one resident for that.
that's my
one
point.
incident.
That's my point in bringing it up.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Great.
That on a Sunday, you were emailing me and
it worked. We did great.
it did.
We're all
And my
pleased.
point in bringing it up is that I think, I think that more people want to know about that type of stuff in case they have questions. That's all I'm saying. I mean, in that instance, we did
What
well.
happens, I think you're talking about exceptions. There are the rules. If there's a delay of trash pickup on a holiday, we will announce if there's a snow delay, but waste management, it's hardly ever the case. Sometimes people put their trash out after the trash comes by and they say they didn't do it. That happens too. People are not as forthright sometimes. But we have a tremendous person in charge of being responsive for our waste management here. Happy to address everyone, and we do. Everyone's gets addressed. Every street, every complaint, there hasn't been one that's not addressed. And I think everyone has to admit that there's not one complaint or any concern that was called to our attention during any of the storms that we did not address. Please name one exception in all these storms in any street in the city. I don't think you can. I don't think the system's that broken is what I'm trying to say.
So, okay, so Council President Wall.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm not sure how we got where we are at this moment. I'll be honest, I was listening pretty good. I believe that the chairwoman said there may be some contingencies that we could meet about if this should happen, and it'd be a good idea for perhaps some of the members of the council, specifically the chair of Public Works, would meet with the administration and maybe look at some of those contingencies that have happened, could possibly happen. I haven't heard, and I believe snow has been done well in my area. I can see Solicitor Olson, who lives in my area, say the same thing. So I don't think it was trying to throw shade or any disparaging remarks at this time. But I don't think it's a bad idea, and I would agree with the council chair that we should maybe get together and think of some of these contingencies that could happen. We have had the last couple of years, we were light in snow. And here we are in January, we've had a little more snow than the most recent Januaries. So I think it's a good idea to be proactive, and I appreciate you saying you're willing to meet. But I don't think anybody was trying to throw any shade on you or the Public Works Department. At least that's not what I heard.
Nope, I didn't say that.
It sounded as you
but I
were
stated
getting a little bit heated at that time, and I don't think that's where we're going.
But I stated the facts. We respond to
I
everything.
appreciate the facts.
And we said we're very willing to sit down, but we do ask you, this is the first time it's communicated that there's a problem.
Got it.
Please tell us what the problems are so that we can address. Happy to meet. If we don't know the problem or the systematic concerns that you have, we can't fix it. But if you let us know, we can work with you. Happy to do so.
That's fair enough.
I think we're saying the same thing.
Yep, we are.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Director. Thank you, Council President Wall. Yeah, I mean, what the Council President is saying is true. I think, and I'll read it again. This is not a staffing issue. This is not a lack of effort. It's a structural problem. So what I'm saying is, I want to make sure that constituents aren't depending on me and any other member here when they're at work to communicate with the city that they have a plowing issue. So that's what I'm saying. And luckily, some of these storms have come on days where we're not at work. My concern is developing with the administration and DPW a system for ensuring that the constituents' requests and concerns are addressed directly to the appropriate staffing agency. And I will give administration and obviously DPW great credit. This was not taking away. And if you didn't hear me, it is just a structural issue with the communications because council people are working individuals. So that is my concern.
Sure. Let us know what you see as the problems and we'll address them.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else on council?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
yeah. I was mayor for 14 years of the city, and I know what Mr. Birdie's saying. It is a very complex operation, and for the most part, 90% of the time, the crews do an excellent job of plowing this city. I see no reason why a councilman it cannot be called. You know darn well they're going to call you. Your constituents are going to call you. There's no reason why you cannot contact the Public Works Department with that particular complaint. Like I said, it's unavoidable that the citizens are going to call an elected official. They certainly can call the Public Works Department as well, but I can assure you, when they're out plowing there, it's a very busy operation, and taking calls, individual calls, is a very difficult job.
Thank you, Councilman. Anyone else? Okay, we are going to move on. So the next item on the agenda is to review daily ice rink operations and procedures. And under that, I have a number of notes, which is referring to game day preparation, ladies' locker rooms, parking and staffing. I would like to say that I have been actively working with the administration to address some concerns that have been voiced to me through some parents and the public that attend the Cranston ice rink. And I reached out immediately to the administration and voiced some of my concerns, which I will a few of them this evening. But I do want to let the public know and the other council members know that the administration has agreed to meet with a couple of the council members and staff to go over some of these questions about operations and procedures that I have. And so we will be meeting on that. So I'm gonna try to keep it short and touch briefly on why this was brought to my attention. I don't know if many of you know, but I am deeply involved with Cranston East Little League. Part of the reason that I joined the council was my concern and love for our parks and recreation. I am very concerned about the kids' sports in the city of Cranston and ensuring that they have the best of the best. And I know that the administration feels the same way because the mayor does, have love for our baseball and it was involved in it. So I really would like to make sure that our other recreation facilities meet the same standards throughout the city of Cranston. And, there were just some concerning issues. I did visit the rink and, review some of the main issues. One of my issues that I, reviewed is just like lack of storage for materials, cleaning materials all over the rink. Male and female equality for locker rooms and the arrangements. The female locker rooms were not up to a standard that I think was at the time okay. There was a number of materials stored in the locker room. I also mentioned that the front door to the rink has a handicap space, but the front door is generally locked. So I'm just concerned with ADA compliance with parking spots. There was another issue with what I think is fire and emergency access around the building with parking issues and striping some of the parking spaces. And then just how we organize and manage some of the materials in the ice rink. And so those were some of the things that were concerning me at the time. And I am grateful that the administration is willing to meet with the council members and address these issues. I know some of the other council members have done a visit to the ice rink because I know I haven't been there since I was in high school, so it was really nice to go by and see it. But there are some issues that I'd like to work with the administration and the council on updating and fixing, and these seem like pretty reasonable issues. I'm not getting into redesigning the rink and putting a new rink in, but something simple like allowing the kids during a game to play the Star Spangled Banner with a speaker system that works and announce their names. I think that gives them great pride and joy to be there. And so what I'm just looking for is organization and cleanliness. And I'm happy to hear that I have a lot of support here and that we'll be working on this together. And I think there's a few other council members that would like to speak as well. President Wall.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I do have a picture's worth 1,000 words, and let me just start off before I put, and I'm going to ask if you could put the first slide up. I visited at the request of a couple of parents who have children who play hockey there, and I've talked to some of the people who. Now, I wasn't a hockey player. But those people who are my age or maybe a little older speak about hockey in the city with a great deal of pride. And they spoke with some sadness at the condition of the rink. And so I had to go see it myself. And I waited till vacation. The truth is I went New Year's morning. All right. And that morning, checking from the schedule, there was some practice going on. That morning, from what I can tell from the schedule, it hadn't been used since 2 o'clock on the 31st of December. And I can't tell you if there were a lot of people there that day before, but the condition of the rink, and I don't mean it's an old place, I get it. It's been around. Director and I were speaking before. I'm not even sure what year it was built, but it's been around a while. I know it's old and it's not gonna look brand new and shiny. But what I saw, and I'm probably gonna echo some of what the chairwoman said, is a lack of cleanliness. It wasn't clean. I went into the locker rooms. The locker rooms probably hadn't been used at that point. And I won't tell you what, you all know what a dirty locker room looks like. There was clutter, great deal of clutter. And when I say that, right near the rink, there's equipment, tools, buckets. And of course, naturally, I stuck my finger in the bucket to see how long, if the water was cold, because it hadn't been used. The floor was dirty. Mops, a fire hose unrolled out, and various snow removal equipment. That can be taken care of. It's not a monumental thing. We can put the snow removal equipment back. There's an area for it. We can put the mops and the brooms and whatever it is. We can put the clutter out so people don't have to trip over it. We can sweep the floor. We can wash the floor. We can clean out the locker room. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures, and I do appreciate the administration shining a light on this and taking a look at it. I'm looking forward to that, because I think it could be and the fact, and I'll say this, could you put my slide, the next slide, sir? I'm just going to run through them quickly. Those are some pictures I took in the locker room. I didn't want to blow them up so you could see exactly what was in the drain, but you know what ends up in the drain. All right, you can go to the next one. That shows you, that's right on the side of the rink. I believe there was a snack bar if you go around, and right on the side you've got equipment, I guess something you clean the floor with. It looks like snow removal equipment, and that's the bucket I stuck in my head. That hadn't been used in a while. Next one, please. Is the fire hose I spoke of. That's on the exact other side. I'm not sure that's the way we store our fire hose. I did point out that speaker. There are speakers around the rink. So at some point, there was some sound that was usable, all right? Could you go to the next one? There's a lot of wiring hanging around. It doesn't look like speaker wire. It looks a lot like extension cords running to the rafters. And some of the electrical could use probably a little maintenance. Looking at that there. The next one. Another the sound system. And here's the thing about the sound system. When I talk to some of the hockey parents, is this, and Councilwoman Graziano pointed out this: unless the school department brings their own sound system in, we can't play the national anthem, but even before the kids start, we can't announce them, and that's kind of pathetic. I mean, in my view. But here it is. It's not unfixable. I don't think these are big fix. I think we've got to draw a little attention to it. I don't think I have to go through the budget, but I did look through the budget. It would appear that we have staffing to do it. And I could go into the specifics, but I don't think it's necessary. I think we just got to put our best foot forward. And I'm certainly willing to leave this, and I'd like this left on after we have the meeting with the administration. And, I think we can just do a better job. It doesn't cost a lot of money to make things clean, a little better maintained. It's not a big ticket item. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Councilman Ritz.
Just real quick, the ice skating rink, my daughters learned to skate there. They have fantastic programs there. They enjoyed it. I enjoyed it too. I think we're very fortunate to have an ice skating rink in the city. I think it could be a gem of the city. I know a lot of work's going on the outside of the building, but I think, there's not much here to get the gem polished up a little bit too. So I appreciate you bringing it forward. And the administration has been fantastic. We're meeting soon to talk about it. So I appreciate everyone's effort on it. Thank you.
Councilman Andrew Har.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had the pleasure of visiting the site yesterday with Councilwoman Vaziri, and it's a very old site. and I think it's on its last leg. I do want to thank and commend Mr. Bucci, who showed us around, but they're really short-staffed over there. So I just want to say to his defense that we need a new place. So hopefully the administration could work with us and we could figure out something to do with that place because it's on its last leg.
Thank you. It looks like Director Moretti would like to say a few words as well.
Yeah, to echo Councilman Anderha, he's absolutely right. Factually, the ice rink is on its last leg, as determined by the engineers. It probably has a very limited life ahead, and the mayor has directed the finance director to take a look at what is best possible alternatives as to what we can do. Mayor Trafficante, perhaps 1960s, I'm guessing, is when the rink was built. Yeah, and there's many problems with the rink, including the ice itself, the Freon or whatever the substance is that keeps it cold is leaking. To say the least, we're doing some temporary fixes structurally, putting the structural Band-Aids on it at this time. So yeah, absolutely right concerning this. I'll say the structure, that something needs to be done in the median term. I am sure your observations, I wasn't there. I trust that they're accurate. Unfortunately, the manager of the rink was not able to be here this evening. He's been sick, and he was not able to attend to be able to respond to you to provide that dialogue. But certainly, he'll be hopefully, if he's feeling better, on Friday when we do meet. Is wide open. I'm sure it's an imperfect place, and I'm sure there's the valid concerns and complaints. At the same time, I think it's also important to say hasn't been the worst place in the world, and some people do think differently. I just like to share some input that I received from the public. We have someone that says, overall, I think the rink management does a very good job attending to maintenance issues and staying on top of overall cleanliness. I see the bigger issue of lack of respect for the facility by different groups that skate and attend the rink, having coaches and parents that don't teach their children responsibility for the condition they find and leave the locker rooms in an underlying problem. Another person wrote in that they're the coach of the Cranston Girls Hockey Co-op, and basically taking an excerpt out of this email is that my girls are really happy this year and having fun. There have been no concerns with the rink, locker rooms, or ice. Another person wrote in who says he operates the Cranston Senior Hockey League. And a comment is the rink may be getting old, but it's managed well, in my opinion. We have actually an Olympic gold medalist who was the director of the Rhode Island Sting girls hockey, made some impactful comments on me, particularly by being the female and the credibility of her being a gold medalist, saying that the rink manager has done an outstanding job managing the facility and ensuring it remains a welcoming, well-run environment where young female athletes can grow their passion for the game. To evaluate this facility based solely on whether every locker room is spotless at every moment of the day, or whether a single staff interaction maybe have been imperfect, would be a tragic loss for these young athletes, for the larger community. And there's other emails. I do want to mention that these concerns have been addressed to the rink manager, and some of which, in terms of, I'll say, the opportunities where there was lack of cleanliness or appeared to be that way, his position, his response, again, I'm not there, I'm the messenger, was that they were between, I'll say, uses of the rink, different groups coming and going. It could have been at that time. Certainly, I believe with this smoke, there could be fire, and very happy to meet with you folks on this to improve the rink where we can and gain your input. But I also did want to represent that it's not the worst place in the world, apparently, given some of the feedback that we have.
Thank you. So,
Madam Chair,
yes, Councilman Trafficante.
Mr. Moretti, the ice rink is an enterprise fund, is that not correct?
Yes.
Do the enterprise people work for the city or work for the enterprise fund?
Well, they work for the city, but it's funded through the enterprise fund. Mayor, the rink has one full-time manager and the rest of the staff are all part-time workers.
I mean, I'm not making excuses for them, but even though the building is old, it doesn't mean it can't be clean. I mean, we have a number of schools in our city that are 100 years old plus, and they're pretty clean institutions. So I think, as the council president indicated, having a meeting regarding the cleanliness of the building is wise.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
I'm old myself, and I think I'm pretty clean.
You don't look old, Mayor.
And I appreciate that, Councilman Trafficante, because, yeah, I think what, President Wall, Councilman Ritz and I are saying is we're not asking the town for $20 million or $30 million or $300 million to redo the rink, and we know it's old. That's not the argument here. I think your argument is that we have received feedback from a number of parents who kids use this rink every day in and out. And they're just asking that we all get together and solve this problem. And I will be nice and not go through it, but I have letters too that I'm happy to share with the public because they're public record. But I've received a number of emails from constituents, and I won't go through and read them all, but mine say, I'm writing as a concerned parent and community member to formally bring attention to the ongoing and worsening conditions of the Cranston ice rink. My son is a freshman at Cranston High School West and plays hockey for the school. He has also been playing for Providence Capitals out of Cranston for the past 4 years. Because of our involvement, our family spends a significant amount of time at this facility, and I have personally observed many of the issues outlined below. There have been repeated observations and reports on significant mismanagement within the facility on multiple occasions. Additionally, the sound system frequently does not function properly, preventing high school player announcements and the playing of the national anthem at the games. This reflects poorly on the city and diminishes the experience for students, athletes, and families and visiting teams. Sanitation is another major concern. The bathrooms are constantly unclean and the locker room showers appear to be neglected with broken tiles, visible maintenance issues. These conditions are unacceptable in a public facility, particularly one heavily used by children and teenagers. So I'm not going to read everything, but all I'm saying is there's issues and we want to continue to work together. President Wall.
Yeah, and I don't wish to go back and forth on this matter at all. I like the idea that we're gonna try to address some of these issues. And I appreciate, I don't think I led my statement off. I don't think anyone led their statement off. And no one who spoke to me said, this is the worst place in the world. Actually, they spoke to me because they thought this was an asset to the city. Someplace they loved to go when they were children, someplace they loved to bring their children to skate and play hockey and things like that. And I know it's never going to be new again, and it may be in the twilight of its use here. But I think what we're saying is, let's maintain it a little better. I would refute the fact that almost $210,000 have been, for staffing, has been budgeted in the last budget. So I'm willing to sit down. If they're telling me they don't have enough money to maintain it, that's an issue we have to look at budgetarily. No more money was asked for us at the budget meeting. So I believe we have enough money to budget. I hadn't heard anyone say they didn't have enough. And when I did the math at the rate they were quoting me, it was 100 hours of part-time work in the rink. That's $130,000 in part-time work. So I'm going to say, I think we can get it cleaner. We can clean the locker rooms, and we could perhaps do a little better job. And it is a nice place. I still enjoyed going there. And I think the people who spend a lot of time still do. I think sometimes it could just be a little bit better maintained and cleaner. That's all.
Thank you. If no one else has anything, we're going to put this to bed. Okay. Next item on the agenda is safe street recommendations. I've had some of my questions answered on this, so I'm going to work with the administration, planning, and DPW. So I was going to continue it, but looks like Councilman Bonanno wants to say something.
I just had a question. Is that supposed to be stripping the tops of the streets? Or is it supposed to be-
Striping.
Striping. Okay, it's a big difference.
Oh,
All right, just making sure. Thank you.
thank you. We laugh, but this will be continued if necessary.
I was just going to mention the director's here if you need him, or myself, if you need to address
Thank you. I
this.
appreciate that. We briefly spoke, he answered a question of mine, and I'm going to go through the administration and we'll work together on this. I don't think it's that big of a deal. With nothing else on the agenda, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 6:48 PM.
We will begin ordinance in about 2 minutes. All right, let's get this show on the road. Before we begin, is this anybody's first time being here? Show of hands. Okay, so what you're gonna witness is a lot of Robert's rules. The meeting will be out of order. I want to take care of the other two situations on the other two ordinances on first. Just keep in mind, all 9 of us are here, but only 7 of us are on this committee. So the only 2 that are not on this committee that do not have the right to vote are Mayor, Councilman Trafficante, and Councilman Ritz. So just in case you see that they're not voting, it's because they're not on this committee. So I just wanted everybody to know that. So with that, Clerk, are we ready? So I'd like to call the Ordinance Committee meeting to order. It is on Wednesday, January 7th, 2026 at 6:50 p.m. Clerk, can you please take a roll?
Council Vice President Haroyan,
Present.
Councilwoman Baziri, Councilman Campiano, Councilman Banano,
Here.
Councilwoman Graziano,
Present.
Councilman Andujar,
Present.
Council President Wall.
Here.
May I entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the December 3rd, 2025 meeting?
So moved, sir.
Second.
Any discussion? Clerk, please take a roll.
Council Vice President Haroyan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Banano,
Yes.
Councilwoman Graziano,
Yes.
Councilman Andujar,
Yes.
Council President Wall.
Yes.
May I entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the December 22nd, 2025 special meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, any discussion? Clerk, please take a roll.
Council Vice President Haroyan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Banano,
Yes.
Councilwoman Graziano,
Yes.
Councilman Andujar,
Yes.
Council President Wall.
Yes.
There are no committee business matters carried over. Now, please pay attention. I am opening up public hearings. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on Ordinance 122501, Ordinance and Amendment of Chapter 17, of the City of Cranston as amended entitled zoning? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on zoning? Please come up to the podium. State your name, Mr. President, and congratulations again.
Oh, thank you, Chairman Andahar. And thank you all members of the council. My name is Stephen Frias, 107 Garden Hills Drive. And I am currently the chairman, president of the City Plan Commission. And I just wanted to say that we put forward this amendment to reflect the state law changes that were adopted over the last few years. They are not discretionary for the most part. These are mandates basically from the state that we are adopting. There's a few areas that are slightly discretionary, like about changing the mail from first certified mail to like first class mail and affidavit. But I just wanted to be here in case you had any questions about any of the ordinance available. And I know the director is available and she will speak at this point. Thank you very much. I don't want to take up your evening, and I know you guys have a lot to hear from me.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on zoning? Clerk James, is anyone online that would like to speak on zoning? None?
There is no online public.
Okay, I'm
comment.
closing public comment for Amendment 122501 entitled zoning. Moving on, I am opening up public comment for Ordinance 122503. Ordinance authorizing the sale of city-owned property located on Cardinal Road. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on Ordinance Cardinal Road? Seeing none, Clerk James, is there anyone online that would like to speak on Cardinal Road? Seeing none,
There's no online public comment.
okay, thank you. At this time, I would like to entertain a motion. I would like to entertain a motion to take the agenda out of order, if there's no objection. Seeing none, at this time, I'm moving on to new matters before the committee. Ordinance and amendment of Chapter 17, the Code of the City of Cranston as amended entitled zoning. This is basically what our president said, but Madam Clerk, if you could please remove me as a sponsor. I would like to be a co-sponsor. I believe, I feel Councilman Ritz, spearheaded this ordinance, and he deserves to be the sponsor of this. So with that, Councilman Ritz, the floor is yours. Thank you for letting me come on as a co-sponsor.
Thank
Kind of-
you. You know, I appreciate Councilman Andujar for making all these much needed changes here too. And, you know, being very open, you know, one thing I had talked to him about was increasing the radius of residents that get notified over new development projects. Thanks from his help and the planning department, we've doubled that radius now of folks that'll get notified of new developments. It's something that I consistently hear from constituents in my area too. So I know they appreciate it. I think it just shows more transparency and gives them more of a voice, and that we're willing to hear from them by expanding that so we can hear from them. So, you know, thank you again for listening to my thoughts and giving me the opportunity to work on this with you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Graziano.
Great, thanks. So I thank you for bringing up that notification. So Mr. Frias mentioned that you changed notification from certified mail to standard mail. Is that with regards to notification of abutters?
Yes, that's for notification of us of standard mail, standard first-class mail with an affidavit. Is that correct, Director? Yes, yes.
Is that, sorry, I'm not familiar with, I'm the only two I'm familiar with is certified mail return receipt and then certificate of mailing. Is that what you're referring to?
If you could just state your name, Director, for the.
Beth Ashman, City Planning Director. We're referring to first-class mail, which is delivered and doesn't require people to go to the post office to pick things up, and it saves thousands of dollars for our applicants.
Thank you. Yeah, I would be more of an advocate of certified mail return receipt, and that's my opinion.
Yeah, it's,
These aren't for violation notices, though. They're just for public.
Sorry, I do the same abutter notification and it's certified mail return receipt, and then we have to make sure that everybody was notified within 7 days. I like it because I don't know, that way I know if they get it.
yeah, I would just say that we had a discussion about this, what approach to follow. And the certified mail is like, it's basically $10, more or less, a mail piece. And so if you're trying to send it to a 400-foot radius in the eastern side of the city, it is a significant amount of people and developers. These sometimes are people who are just like putting a shack. You know, they want to move their shack in their backyard a little bit. And so it could be a significant cost for them. And I know that we had some comments about that. So this was a way of, we want to make sure we provide notice and add significant notice, wide radius, with reducing some of the costs for those who just, you know, reduce costs for people who try to do most of the time just minor things.
That's why I'm wondering if certificate of mailing is cheaper, because that's what we do in lieu of certified mail.
Like I said, I think what we do is first-class mail. What we suggested, I think it came down to a first-class mail with some sort of affidavit attached. The reason we put an affidavit, and this was again a discussion that came up, the affidavit is usually signed by an attorney. Okay, so the attorney is not going to lie under oath in an affidavit. They didn't send it out by first-class mail. If they were to send out a false affidavit, they would get into like significant legal trouble. So we felt that there was a deterrent for anybody to falsely send out an affidavit, because what would happen is if they signed a false affidavit to send something out by mail, one, it would undermine the approval in the first place, and then that person would have legal trouble. And we thought that was a less expensive way and a deterrent from, and also deter people from engaging in false behavior.
And no, I wasn't concerned about that. We do affidavits too. I'm not concerned about the falsity of that. I'm just wanting to ensure the receipt, because first class is, maybe you get it, maybe you don't.
Yeah, you know, this is a decision for the council. You know, we made that decision based on discussions with, you know, Bob Murray shows up at my meeting a lot. He gives his opinion, of course, his view of like the cost of doing these mailings. And at the same time, like I said, we wanted to make sure there is a adequate notice for everybody. So this was the balance.
We've also received many complaints from people about, I got the green card and then I, had to go to the post office and then it was just nothing. So it just felt overkill for the type of notices of public meetings we were sending out.
I appreciate it.
Councilman Banano.
Thank you. As a former chair of the zoning board, before I was lucky enough to come to council, this was an issue that we discussed, especially the mail. And I think that the first-class mail is sufficient. I have enough faith in the United States Postal Service that they're not going to miss a whole street. And if you don't miss a whole street, one neighbor is going to talk to the other, is going to talk to the other, is going to talk to the other. So not only is it going to be mailed out and be a significantly less expensive proposition for the applicant, organically, I think everybody is going to be able to figure out what's going on. I also, as former chair of the zoning board, got many complaints from folks on both sides, receiving the mail and sending out the mail. Sending out the mail, obviously, because it's very expensive. And some people, just the mail itself was an expense. And if they're just moving their shed, or doing something that was a deterrent to following the law, frankly. And we got it on the other side, like Director Ashman said. I went, I had to take time out of work and go get this piece of mail. And it was because my neighbor 2 streets over was moving his shed, and that was a pain in the neck. So as far as the mail, I'm good with that. And I do want to applaud, whether it's Councilman Ritz or Councilman Andahar or and the planning department. There were a lot, and when I say a lot, that's an understatement, of zoning and planning changes in the last 5 years that have come down from the state. Most of these, like Mr. Frias mentioned, Chairman Frias mentioned, are sort of mandated. So don't get nervous when you see 23 pages. A lot of this stuff comes from the state and is necessary for us to follow state law. So kudos to you guys, and I wouldn't mind being added as a co-sponsor as well. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Well, I want to thank Director Ashman. Thank you, President, and thank you, the sponsor of this bill, Frank Ritz, for putting this together. So with that, Clerk, please take a roll.
We gotta get a motion.
Motion, is there a motion? May I have entertain a motion to approve?
So second.
Clerk, any discussion? Clerk, please take a roll.
Council Vice President Ryan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Banano,
Yes.
Councilwoman Graziano,
Yes.
Councilman Andujar,
Yes.
Council President Wall.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Moving on to new matters before the committee. Ordinance 122503, ordinance authorizing the sale of city-owned property located on Cardinal Road.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Councilman Graziano.
Thank you, Councilman Andujar. I just want to note that at the last city council meeting, I asked for a number of items, and I'm still waiting on those items from the administration. So I'm hoping that we're going to receive those items before we vote on it before council, because that is going to change my decision.
Any further discussion? Clerk, please take a roll.
Excuse me.
Mr. President?
Director, the items, do you know the items that the councilwoman is asking for?
I had spoken to the finance director, and he was to provide the information, just so you'll know.
Just a quick question.
And that, what I can recall was like a site map as to where the lot was particularly located. Other than that, I don't recall what else there was. I would have my notes in the office, but that's the one I remember.
Through the chair.
Councilwoman Graziano.
So I did not only a site map showing the parcel location with city adjacent owned parcels, but I needed a reason why you chose this parcel for sale and how you compared it against other parcels in the city of Cranston and what viability it had or didn't have for the city, because to me, it felt like it could be used for other opportunities, and especially if it abuts other city-owned land. I don't want to be selling prime property. I want to be selling well thought out parcels that will achieve the goal that the city is trying to reach. And it's concerning to me that we would sell something, and I'm not saying this, I'm just saying it would be concerning if we sold something that had extreme value to the city as an abutting property, recreational land, affordable housing, trails, open space, new recreational field opportunity. So I don't want to let a parcel go that has value.
Director?
Well, it does have value. Yes, it does. And the tax assessor has it about $250,000. Now, exactly the rationale for that, I guess we'll need the tax assessor, but it certainly has value to the city. That's why I would be selling it.
So I apologize. I didn't mean monetary value. I meant value as an asset for opportunity for the city to have other recreational, affordable housing opportunities, adjacent parcel, emergency fire access to recreational fields. And so is there another parcel you could sell that's an industrial facility that's the same amount of money? I just want to know how you weighed it out, so I'm not blindly taking a vote on selling a parcel. I have no information of why this parcel was specifically chosen.
Okay, fair enough. Well, again, I will re-request the finance director to provide that information.
So through the chair, if I may.
Proceed.
So I'm willing to push this over to council, but I need that information in a timely manner. Otherwise, I support what the action that this is being sold for. I want to be clear that I support the intent of this sale and what it will go towards. It's just, I don't want to sell a valuable parcel that could have other opportunities for the city of Cranston.
Mr. President?
So if I'm clear, we're gonna try to make, if we do vote on it this evening, because this has been delayed to some extent already, so I would be in favor of voting for it this evening. However, given that those materials are received in a timely manner, so we can review them as a council prior to the final vote on the 20th. And the director said he would take care of that and make sure that those informations will be coming towards us, Director. Just thumbs up is a good hit. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm fine.
Thank you, and I concur with you, Councilwoman Graziano. Thank you for bringing that up. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Bonanno.
I think, we should all be privy to that. And perhaps it could be attached with our agenda when we get mailed or email the agenda for the full council meeting. Is that
Through the
okay?
chair? That my intention is everybody would see it, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilwoman Graziano.
Great. Just, I don't know how many days before we're going to get it, but if it's only 48 hours, that's not enough. 4 days, great.
Yeah, 48 business hours, which is 4 days because it doesn't include the weekend. Yeah.
As soon as you can get it to us, we would love that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please take a roll.
Council Vice President Hoyer,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano.
Yes.
Council Banano,
Yes.
Councilman Graziano,
Yes.
Councilman Andujar.
Yes.
Council President Wall.
Yes.
Motion passes. Now, we're going back to the beginning of the meeting. I am opening up public hearings, public comment for. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on Ordinance 122501S, Ordinance and Amendment of Title 8, Chapter 20, Section 70 of the City of Cranston Code of Ordinances, 2005, entitled Special Activities? This is the gun range, everybody. So, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? Please come up, single file. Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Wow, 3 minutes, okay. Name and is Antonella Pasquarello, address is 20, Antonella Pasquarello. I know it's tough to spell. 2072 Cranston Street, Cranston, Rhode Island. I live nearby the Meshanicut Lake area, not too far from the school. All of my children have gone to Cranston Public Schools, George J. Peters, Western Hills, Cranston West. I have one there now. Been in the community for a very long time and a neighbor and living in the neighborhood for about 25 years. So I was featured in the New York Times editorial about the gun range and the impact to the community. I'm a parent. I hear the fires in my backyard, which abuts the bike path, depending on how the wind and the sound waves are traveling. I've walked through the schoolyard with my pet listening to the gun range bounce off the building as I walk through and kind of carefully keep my eyes open to see what might be out there. It's happened many times. It's given me alarm and fright, to say the least, knowing that my kids are in the school and I hear this in the background. And then I listen for fire department, like fire alarms or police cars, and try to determine whether or not this is a real emergency situation, or if it's just the practice of the gunfire happening at the range. It does have an impact on those of us that live in the community. And I believe that if parents who realize that this is happening and the sounds that actually takes place, for the parents and the people that live outside of the area in which you could actually hear the gunfires, they probably would be here as well. I just don't think, unless you live nearby and have children that go to the school, that you really think about the impact. And then when we have shootings like the one at Brown, which is so tragic, and they happen all too often, you get these reminders that you have to be worried and concerned about the kids that are in the school. And then you wonder, if they were to hear gunfire, could they decipher whether or not it was the practice happening at the range, or if it was a real emergency? And the police department's here, time is critical, right? Seconds matter. So if it takes extra seconds for the kids in the school to know that this is a real emergency versus traditional practice happening, which needs to happen. I'm not arguing that it doesn't need to happen. We need to train our police force, right? Does it need to happen in the backyard of a school? When it was built, we didn't have these tragedies in the US. We're one of the highest nations in the world that have these types of tragedies. It just doesn't make common sense anymore, both for those that live in the community and those that go to school there and work there. I just wanted to share my thoughts and feelings with all of you here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience? Please keep in mind that we cannot answer back, so we only could listen. Please state your name and address, sir. 3 minutes.
My name is Peter Sabinski, 60 Midland Drive, Cranston, Rhode Island. I want to start off by saying that I've been here before, many years before. I spent maybe 200 hours and months detailing ranges, gun ranges across the country. And I spoke to the council about that. And all these ranges had the same problem that we're going to hear tonight, and you already heard. All these ranges, they did their research, and all they could come up with is that the only way to stop the noise is an indoor range. Now, I know you've had, and I wasn't physically able to attend, you had people here testifying for the city saying indoor ranges are not going to stop it. Well, they don't know what they're talking about. They don't have the credentials to say that. They're actually lying, in my opinion. I want to just say at this point, I'm a life member of the Rhode Island Troopers Association, and I am pro-police. And I commend our police department. They are the best city police, in my opinion, in the country. Do they need a gun range to practice? Yes, they do. And it's up to us to provide that. I met with the mayor in his office, and Mr. Moretti was there. And the mayor at that time, a number of years ago, said, after hearing what I told him and the other members that were there, he said, okay, I'm convinced. The only way to stop this is to have an indoor range, and we'll find the funds. Well, that's all well said and good. But here we are, a number of years later, and how many hearings you've heard, how many people you heard. I'm telling you right now, the indoor range, we have an indoor range in the city of Cranston right now. It's not far from the senior center on a side street. You go down there, the neighbors, they'll tell you they can't hear it. Why can't we have it here? We can, but the politics involved with it, the money shuffling back and forth. And don't put the onus on the police department. They need a range. And it's up to us as citizens to give them a range and just not have our children suffering from that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? Please come up, state your name and address.
Hi, Harvey Flanders, 25 Clarion Street, Cranston. Yeah, I've lived in my house for 57 years. I can hear the range. I attended Cranston West. I attended Western Hills. I attended Mashantucket Park Elementary School. We can hear the range. Didn't affect me. Both my kids went to both the schools. No one ever had a problem with it. I don't see why we're even discussing this. And I appreciate the indoor range idea. It's a good idea, but our offices also have rifles now. Get an indoor range, try to fire a rifle in it. It's just not going to work out well. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak? Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Naoko Shibusawa. I live at 97 Naoko. Last name Shibusawa. I live at 90 Sefton. So I'm in Edgewood. So I'm here as a good neighbor. I think that what really matters right now, we're in a different time right now. I think that kids really need a sense of safety. So I'm really here as a good neighbor, right? I'm also an instructor at Brown University. And 2 of my freshmen were in that class that was shot. One of my freshmen was shot, and another one was in the room trying to recover, California. So right now at Brown, we're thinking about safety, security, and what's going to make us feel safe. And I don't think that having to hear guns in your backyard or hearing it at school or just worrying as this woman's doing is fair. We're in a different time right now. It'd be great if we didn't have to worry about it at all, but we're in a completely different time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience? Please come up, state your name, address, 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Patricia Ritchie. I live at 161 Albert Avenue. And I'm here principally, I've already testified once to the city council, but I'm here again because I have a great deal of empathy for the long-suffering residents of this region in Mashantucket. I got my MD, received my MD at Brown University, and I completed a 4-year residency in psychiatry at Brown University as well. Part of my training included working for 2 years in the post-traumatic stress disorders clinic at the Providence VA Hospital. I have been a psychiatrist for many years in private practice, and this included doing psychotherapy with patients with depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, and in addition to couple and family therapy. I want to preface my testimony for the record in saying that I respect and honor the police greatly. I realize they have a job to keep Cranston residents safe from harm. However, I'm very concerned that a disturbing allegation has been perpetuated in our city, a false narrative, that people who come and speak out against the damaging effects of the gun noise are against the police. And nothing could be further than the truth. People are sickened by the barrage of gun noise, which is very damaging. But what's even more damaging is that people, in hearing that they're against the police, it's inciting fear in them. And I believe that we would have a more thunderous outcry if people weren't silenced. So I think you would have many more people here today. It's a sorry testimony to our society that I'm even here today to have to stand before you and testify to the harmful effects of chronic gunshot noise on the human body. This is something one would hope that responsible governing officials would plainly recognize and understand. There are a vast number of scientific studies documenting the harmful effects of chronic environmental noise on humans. I thought I had 4 minutes, but apparently I have 3. So I was going to say I'm limited to 4 minutes. So you will only hear right now a fraction of the effects on the human body. They are documented with studies, and they are the following: increased risk of stroke, dementia, cognitive decline, depression, anxiety, increased inflammation in the body, ischemic heart disease, cognitive impairment in children, sleep disturbance, tinnitus or ringing in the ears, cardiac arrhythmias, lipid dysregulation, hemodynamic changes, disruption of circadian rhythm, increased blood pressure, both systolic and diastolic, increased blood viscosity, and increased blood glucose levels and insulin resistance. This is merely a representative compilation of how the population is affected. And these are just for people without prior diagnosis, medical or psychiatric. Please keep in mind that Cranston residents who have an existing diagnosis of depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, including childhood trauma, sexual trauma, domestic violence, physical violence, or combat trauma, are all that much higher are at much higher risk to be adversely impacted. I implore you, you represent your constituents who have suffered for far too long. You have a responsibility to do the right thing and make the right choice. Please allow your moral integrity and empathic connection to your fellow Cranston residents to guide you. I thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak? Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes. Motion to accept a letter.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Ayes have it.
The Cranston Gun Range,
Name and address.
Kimberly Bogosian, 45 Mount View Drive, Cranston. The Cranston Gun Range is in the vicinity of a residential area and 2 schools that neighbor each other. When school was in session, as I can attest, I would constantly hear gunshots. As a student, I was trying not to pay attention to this harsh noise. Playing tennis on the Cranston West varsity team, my teammates heard the loud fired gunshots. I constantly attend every municipal meeting to listen and watch out for our community. I graduated from Cranston West High School in 2006. We are living in the year 2026. For about 2 decades, there has been a continuous use of this gun range other than Cranston's officers. The last meeting, this ordinance was brought up on the docket thanks to former Mayor Trafficante. He said that he was, quote, being intimidated by the administration and the mayor. He actually walked away from the chambers. I hope that we can treat each other with respect going on. I admit, as students and teachers worked tirelessly, we became numb to these sounds. Guns kill people. Humans kill people. We must try and work together. An amendment of special activities. Who is actually using this range and when? How come it wasn't known when I was a student if they even used a sound suppressor? Any sound at 75 decibels, including everyday traffic, can lead to hearing fatigue or damage. Please don't adopt this ordinance as is. Be a good neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
David Sternick. I live at 2270 Cranston Street.
You can put the
right
mic
past
up if you want, step closer.
I live at 2270 Cranston Street. And I want to ask a simple question for everybody. Who here has been part of an active shooter incident? Had their school be locked down and had to sit in fear under bleachers, wondering if they were going to get shot? That's one person who has spoken. I moved here. I am a newer resident. I've lived here a year and a half. I bought a house because I thought this town was safer. And back in my hometown, when I was in middle school, we found bullet casings in my school and we had to lock down our school during Hanukkah. Now, a few years later, we found a kid threatening to shoot up our school who lived across the street from our school, and he had to be expelled and removed from the community. I moved from New Jersey to Rhode Island, and I looked at the statistics, I looked around, and I saw that Cranston was one of the safest towns in all of Rhode Island, with a good history, a good community, a place I want to raise my children. And then on a long weekend, a few months after I moved in here, I heard a noise. I live over half a mile from Cranston West, walking, and I heard gunshots at my house. I was confused. I've lived in the middle of nowhere, New Jersey, and I've lived in the city by Jersey City. I've lived around New York. I've heard gunshots before. I didn't think they would be heard in a city like this. And I know that if I was in high school, I would be terrified, because being in that kind of situation, it's the story that your town tells for the next decade. Everybody in my town knew the story of the bullets in the school and how it was so mismanaged. The principal got fired and they had to throw out the entire school board. Now, I say this as a warning to you all, because if there is an incident at Cranston West, this town will never forget the fact that we let our students hear gunshots so much they were desensitized. And it will be everything that this town talks about for the next 2 decades.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? Please say your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Jeannie Thomason. I live at 231 Wayland Avenue in Cranston. I'm quite close to the high school and to the gun range. I've lived there for over 60 years. I attended school there as well. And throughout the years, we have tried to address this issue. I've talked to other members of the city council who are no longer on the city council. I was told things a number of years ago. I was told we've got a $50,000 soundproofing grant. Well, I began to think, how does one soundproof an outdoor range? And the city councilman who told me this didn't have an answer. On another occasion, I was listening to the evening news, and one reporter said, we want to congratulate the Cranston Police Force, because we were told that they're very much aware of the fact that there's a group home on Phoenix Avenue, and they know that some of the residents there are very agitated by extreme sounds. So as a result of that, the police force is going to be very, very conscientious about use of sirens when in that area. And once again, it made no sense at all. We hear constant gunfire, and the the news was talking about the use of the sirens and how that would have an effect. And the police department was very, very sensitive to the sound and the effect it would have on these residents. Everything people have said here, it's nonstop. I mean, we were told once it would never happen after dark. It does happen after dark. In the summertime, you don't want to sit out in your yard because of it. And when people visit and hear it, they're astounded. They had no idea this was going on. So I once again implore the council to please take up this ordinance and give it the attention it needs to be given. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Laura Fusco, and I live at 13 Carpathia Road. I live right next to Cranston West in that little neighborhood in the Western Hills Middle School. I actually took a video that I would like to play. It was actually what the previous woman was talking about with the sirens and the gunshots all together. And as a mom, it kind of makes you a little nervous, but I was just sitting out in my backyard one day, and this is what I was listening to. I don't know if you can really hear it, though. You hear the guns, and then you hear the sirens. So as a mom, that kind of makes you a little nervous when your kids are at school and you're hearing the guns and then the sirens and the combination of them. It kind of makes you feel like you're in, not a great place. But I also moved here about 15 years ago, and I used to live in Providence for 4 years. And honestly, if I knew that there was going to be all this gunfire, way more than when I was even living in Providence, I probably wouldn't have bought my house here. I'm not here tonight as like an activist or an expert. I'm just as a parent. And don't get me wrong, I respect the police. I want them to train. I obviously know it's super important. I have a lot of friends and family on the police force. And I definitely support and respect what they're doing. It's just the location and the noise that concerns me. Every day my kids, where they're trying to learn at school, they're listening to gunshots. I have a child in middle school and a child at the elementary school. And at first they noticed, and then they would ask questions, and now they don't even react at all. And that is what terrifies me, is that our children are being conditioned to tune out the sound of gunfire. When you think about that, that's huge. If there was a real emergency, if there was an actual threat, how would we know? How would the teachers know? How would first responders know? When gunshots are part of the background noise of a school day, we erase the most basic early warning system we have. We tell children to see something, say something, but when they're taught by repetition to ignore what they're hearing, that's really scary. And this isn't about politics. This isn't about Second Amendment. It's about common sense and child safety. Schools are meant to be places of focus, of growth, safety. They're not meant to be places where children flinch, or worse, not flinch at all. We already ask our kids to practice lockdown drills. We ask teachers to be vigilant. We ask our parents to trust when we drop our kids off in the morning that our kids are going to come home. So why would we allow a situation that makes it harder, not easier, to protect them? And I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just asking for people to take responsibility. And if you say you're going to do something about it, please do something about it. Cities regulate noise near hospitals. They regulate traffic near schools. They regulate construction hours to protect communities. So I'm sure we can find a solution here. Some sound mitigation, restricted hours, zoning changes, something that acknowledges that children's safety and peace of mind matter, because the cost of doing nothing is way too high. The cost is children who no longer react to gunfire. The cost is teachers second guessing whether to act. The cost is parents like me laying awake wondering if one day the sound we've all learned to ignore will be one day the one that actually matters. So please don't wait for tragedy to justify action. Be proactive. And I would just like to find a solution to all this. So thank you.
Thank you. Let's switch it up. Clerk James, is anyone on the line that would like to speak on this matter?
Yes, we do have public comment.
Okay, let's start with the first one. Hi, Sherry, Sherry Izzy, if you could please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi there. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. All right, so my name is Sherry Izzy. I'm at 12 Midland Drive, very close to the range, and I've lived here for close to 20 years. I want to thank all of you for taking this under consideration. And I would first like to state I'm a strong supporter of the Cranston Police Department. I'm also a strong supporter of Second Amendment rights and a proud member of the NRA. So I want to make sure that, everyone understands this isn't a police issue. Again, as others have said, it's not a gun issue whatsoever. The police most definitely have to train. My issue here, along with everyone else's, is the noise. I've heard people say they haven't had an issue with it, and that's because they've become desensitized to the noise. I think it's a common sense issue, unfortunately, in the year 2026, that people should not be desensitized to the sound of gunfire. I'll make a quick note that we are all aware of what happened of the horror at Brown University. And from what I've read, some of our brave officers of Cranston responded quickly, and very thankful for that. What I'd also like to note is that the very first gunfire, the gunshot that was heard, people ran for cover. I would like to make a point that if people were to hear gunfire here, just one shot, everyone would just say it's the range. And I honestly mean that. And I can say I was out for a walk the other day, had my back turned and heard the gunfire begin and my knees buckled. I'm very hard to rattle. And let me tell you, it was for one moment, I stopped and said, is that a shooter or is it the gun range? That shouldn't take place here. And I think it's not an issue of the police practicing again. They really, really have to. It's a matter of sound suppression. And others have said that. It's really important. And I know I only have a couple of seconds left here. So I just want to play this. And I don't know if that came through. That's literally just a quick second of what is being heard all the time. So I want to thank you all for taking this under consideration and saying that we're really close to schools. If anyone's not aware, I think you all are aware. And looking at doing something about this noise, as they say, low-hanging fruit is using sound suppressors. So with that, I'll close. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. James. Anyone else online that would like to speak on this matter? Yes, there is. And we have E. You can state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, can everyone hear me? My name is Erica Walker. I live at 300 Front Street in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. I'm speaking today because I am an assistant professor of epidemiology at the Brown University School of Public Health. And I received my doctorate in environmental health from the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. And I did my dissertation research on community noise exposure, its measurement of community noise exposure and its impact on human health. In this capacity, I run a lab called Community Noise Lab, and we have actually studied the noise issue in Cranston. And I just have a few comments. I think everyone else before made better comments than I could make. But before I go to my comments, I just wanted to say that I am not anti-police. I have lots of family members that are on the police department. I am also originally from Mississippi, and I actively hunt. As a matter of fact, I killed my first 12-point deer over the Christmas holidays. So I'm very much pro-gun as well. But for our noise measurements, my concerns are as follows. Like when we think about the sound, the actual physical characteristic coming from gun firing activity, it's really loud. So we've measured sound at its peak at over 100 decibels, and over 100 decibels is the same as a loud rock concert. And so not only is it loud, the loudness of the sound levels has been associated with epidemiologically with the host of health issues that other people have commented on. But I've also been heavily involved in the noise acoustical cameras. And if this sound level was played in front of acoustical camera, the person would get ticketed. So it's loud. And these sound levels, 100 decibels, rivals large cities like New York City. I was recently in Dubai. It rivals those kind of sound levels. But looking past sound, which is just this kind of physical characteristic, and thinking about noise, which is defined as unwanted sound, I think we really have to take into consideration the noise, the part that the community says is what they don't want to listen to. So noise is a psychological construct, right? It's individual. So you have people that say it bothers me, people say that it doesn't bother them, but I'm concerned about the people who say that the noise bothers them because it is setting off a stress response that over time leads to those health impacts that we've heard previously. And so it's triggering. So I just want to reiterate that we need to think about the sound. We need to think about the noise perception. We know that the sound is loud from our studies. Noise perception can be triggering, especially to young people, people who work from home, people who deal with post-traumatic stress disorder, people who are veterans. So these are all important to consider. So I am open to working with the city of Cranston in whatever way possible to make sure that all voices are heard, making sure that anything that is proposed, that we think about the pros and the cons. So I'm just here tonight to offer my services. We have measured sound levels in Cranston extensively. We continue to measure sound levels in Cranston. We have created a community noise survey. We have analyzed that data. That data is publicly available, but we're also here to support in any way possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. James, anyone else online that would like to speak?
Yes, there is.
Let's see who's next. We have Trish Glass. Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name's Trisha Glass, and I'm at 240 Center Park South in New York. Good evening, and thanks for the opportunity to comment on the proposed amendments to this ordinance. I'm Executive Director at Quiet Communities, a nationwide nonprofit that promotes quiet as a valuable natural resource and works to reduce harmful noise. A number of us at Quiet Communities have followed developments in Cranston related to noise at the Police Academy Training Complex for years. Our organization is contacted by residents across the country who are trying to address harmful noise issues. I personally speak with members of affected communities almost daily, and this case compelled me to attend the Brown Forum in 2023, where I heard from neighbors, students, and researchers, and I shared what I learned with my colleagues. The gun range exposes neighbors, students, teachers, school staff, and police officers and others training there to high intensity impulse noise from gunfire at hazardous levels. And the noise has continued for years. Close to Cranston High School West, as you've heard, and Western Hills Middle School and surrounding residential neighborhoods. Chronic noise is not simply an annoyance or a nuisance. It damages hearing, it harms mental and physical health, as you've heard. It interferes with children's learning and adults' ability to work productively. And it's not something people can simply get used to. Even during sleep, research shows the body reacts to noise with stress responses that affect the cardiovascular system, and ultimately the heart. The Brown Community Noise Lab, as you just heard, measured gunfire at high decibel levels. And gunfire is not only loud, it's literally explosive, unpredictable, and in this case, persistent, which also exacerbates health impact. Noise generated by gun training at the Cranston complex also raises profound concerns, as you've heard, about children's safety and learning. A study by the late Dr. Arlene Bronsaft, a pioneering researcher on noise and children's health, and one of my colleagues showed a clear link between chronic noise exposure and reduced academic performance in children. In a blog Arlene co-authored titled "The Sound of Gunfire Near School?" Just another day in Cranston, she wrote about the unsettling reality that students here have become accustomed to gunfire during the school day. But this evening, I'm encouraged that the City Council is moving forward to a vote on this amendment. The proposed operational changes are a step in the right direction. It's hopeful to see stakeholders coming together to find solutions that protect the health of residents, students, and the police officers who train at the facility, as well as the staff. Cranston has the opportunity here to act, to put science, health, and community well-being first. I urge you to pass this amendment, prioritizing solutions that protect children and residents in Cranston from this preventable harm. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Glass. At this time, I would like to go back to public comment in the audience, the great representative of District 16, Brendan Potter. Thank you for coming, Representative. State your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, President Wall, honorable members of the council. For the record, my name is Brandon Potter. I live at 62 Grove Ave. I'd also ask that the record reflect I represent the people of District 16 in the Rhode Island House of Representatives, which is comprised of Eden Park, Auburn, Stadium, Garden City, and I formerly represented the people of Mashantucket. Councilman Trafficante, Councilwoman Graziano, Councilman Andahar, thank you very much for sponsoring this ordinance and bringing it forward. I want to begin by saying, for what it's worth, from the perspective of somebody who has worked on state laws related to gun violence and issues of public policy that are relevant to this, I personally find it absolutely insane that at the same time we are subjecting children to run through active shooter drills, there are people in this room who will make the argument and attempt to justify why it is okay that those same children are listening to gunfire go off right outside of their classroom window across the street while they are in the classroom. But really, I wanted to come here today to respond to some of the arguments, because over the last 5 years, having this debate ongoing, there has been a lot of misdirection and a lot of reframing of the argument that I don't think actually gets at the heart of the issue. One of the arguments that we've heard quite a bit, and we've heard it brought up a little bit tonight, is that the police have to train. You've heard other witnesses before you testify that no one is arguing that the police do not have to train. Of course, we all want our police force to be well-trained, safe, and capable of protecting us. But I do want to point out for the council that the city of Providence has offered to allow the Cranston Police Department to go to their range, which is approximately 9 miles up the road in Situate, and use that facility. The response that I heard previously from the administration and from the police department was that, quote, they can't just pack up and go. I would urge the council to inquire as to what that means, because as a layperson, I don't understand exactly what needs to be packed up. Ammunition, firearms. I think that is in the wheelhouse of what police typically do in their day-to-day activity. But even if the police, for some reason, need to stay in this particular location, for the purposes of qualifying, I want the council to be familiar with a little bit of math. To the best of my knowledge, there are 153 officers in Cranston. Officers need to fire 300 rounds per year to qualify. That comes out to 45,900 rounds per year. If you had only one officer qualifying at one time, and let's say it took an officer 4 hours to go through that qualification, that's 612 hours. In a 40-hour work week, That could be done in 3.5 months. That could be done at a time when students were not in the classroom. That could be done in a fashion where the community was updated and prepared for when the shooting would happen. There could be a level of accommodation. We've also heard the argument that this is actually a pro-safety measure, that this is a good thing, that the police being in that close of proximity to a school somehow promotes public safety. I don't know that that's an argument that's even worth having to rebut, but I do want the council to be aware of one thing. Coincidentally, right now, as we're here tonight, there is a trial going on that's made national news where an officer in Uvalde, Texas is on trial for something very similar to, I think, a concern that you've heard quite a bit about this issue. Keep that in mind. We've also heard that no one complains about this except for a few people. That is a blatant lie. I have personally seen a petition with over 100 signatures on it. I have personally spoke to dozens of neighbors in that area who have all complained about it. And we've also heard an argument that no one at the school has ever complained. That is also a lie. I have personally spoken to teachers, substitute teachers, children, students who go there who have complained about it. But to that point, what I find most alarming about all of this is the fact that so many students I have spoken to and testimony that you've heard from other people has said, the students tell us it doesn't even bother them. The fact that we are here debating whether it is a good thing that students are desensitized to the sound of gun violence and gunfire, I think that fact really just says a lot about where we are. For what it's worth, members of the council, comes as no surprise that our city has had a number of embarrassing moments over the last few years. We've been in the news quite a few times. And I have many colleagues and I have many friends around the state that ask me quite often, what is going on in Cranston? And this is one of the things that they bring up. I've introduced legislation at the State House and testified about this issue to prohibit the operation of an outdoor shooting range within 1 square mile of a school. When my colleagues have heard about what happens here, they do more than scratch their head. But moreover, I just want to say, as somebody who's worked on a number of public policy issues and had to debate many issues in state law, brought many stakeholders to the table over a variety of issues, I have never experienced one other issue where people who have a very valid complaint, a very legitimate concern about a basic quality of life issue that have been met with such disrespect, have been so easily dismissed, have been ridiculed, have been laughed at. The amount of misinformation and misdirection that this debate has suffered over the last 5 years truly leaves a lot to be desired for people who care about good government. This does not have to be a contentious issue. There is a collaborative solution here in the spirit of good government. And I very much hope that the council takes that into consideration. The people who you will hear from tonight, that you have heard from, and many others have been very patient. They've been reasonable. They've asked for a number of reasonable accommodations. I cannot say that I've experienced the same on the other side of this issue. I hope that you'll keep that in mind when you consider this. And I thank you all very much for your time and for your commitment to public service and all the time that you put into this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative. Anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? Please come up, state your name. I mean, Representative Potter spoke for everybody, but.
Hi, I'm Roberta Judge, and I live at 18 Laconia Road, and I've lived there for 23 years, where I have raised 3 children from birth at that address. And they have gone to Peters, Western Hills, and Cranston West. And I would just like to say that I have spoken before about this issue, and I'm very much in support of this ordinance passing this the committee tonight. And and I second everything you've already heard tonight about everything I've lived through for 23 years. And so, thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? Please state your name and address.
My name is Patricia Schoeninger, and I live at 7 Scotland Road. My name is Patricia Schoeninger, and I am a longtime resident of this community, and I support this ordinance regarding the gun range. I'm here because the continued operation of the police gun range without meaningful limits or mitigation has placed an unfair, ongoing burden on nearby residents. This is not a temporary inconvenience. It is a chronic quality of life issue that has been allowed to persist for years. The noise from the range is excessive, frequent, disruptive. It is not compatible with the residential area. It interferes with work, family life, outdoor activity, and peace inside of my home. Residents should not have to plan their day around gunfire. Renting this range to outside agencies is unacceptable. That decision directly increases noise, frequency, duration, and it shifts the impact of regional training onto local residents. Our neighborhood should not function as a regional shooting facility. The use of firearm suppressors is a necessary mitigation, not an optional one. Suppressors significantly reduce noise, protect officers' hearing, and are widely used in modern training environments. If this range is going to continue operating where it is, suppressors should be required. We have been told that the East Providence, Johnston, and Smithville police departments use the range to train, and that their use of the range is limited to pistol training. I am requesting clarification on the following points. 1, where did these outside agencies conduct their rifle training and qualification? 2, where are these outside agencies using the range for all of their training, including rifles? If rifles are being used, are these agencies required to use suppressors on their rifles? How many police officers in total from these outside agencies use the range? Clear answers to these questions are important for understanding the full scope of outside agency activity at the range and its impact on the surrounding community. Right now, keeping things the same benefits only the police department, not the residents who live here. The argument against change isn't that it can't be done, it's that it's inconvenient. Operational convenience should not outweigh the health, well-being, and quality of the surrounding community, especially when reasonable measures exist that would reduce harm. This ordinance does not shut down the range. It does not compromise public safety. It simply establishes reasonable limits, responsible operation, and respect for the people who live there. I ask you to put residents first. Families who live nearby experience this gunfire day after day, and doing nothing is not an option. The impacts are real, constant, and preventable. This ordinance offers reasonable solutions that protect the quality of the life of the people who call this neighborhood home, while allowing necessary training to continue. I am respectfully seeking your support in this ordinance. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? Please state your name and address.
Martha DeMayo, 69 Laconia Road. Before you start I have a question for the council president. Perhaps it's a question for the attorney, Marcelo. Would like to know why Councilman Trafficante was denied access to the visual presentation when, Council President, as you said, pictures are worth 1,000 words. Why was my councilman not allowed to use do a presentation?
We can't answer you. Well, I'll note it though.
No. It's a legal question, is it not?
During public comment, we're not allowed to go
Okay.
back and forth, but I'll note it.
Please note that. I think that was a prejudice. Okay, my official time.
We'll start now.
Nothing says 21st century living like gunfire up to 12 hours a day. All the best neighborhoods have it. Nothing creates wonderful spaces for children to grow and thrive more than having bullets fired in their backyard. Nothing says 21st century education like gunfire outside of the classroom door. All the best schools have mass shooting like gunfire for their students. Our veterans, for our veterans, nothing says thank you for your service like recreating the battlefield experience for them in their homes. Do you agree on these things? This isn't complicated. You need to ask some questions. You need to ask, how did East Greenwich solve this problem? You need to ask, how did New Haven solve this problem? You need to ask the colonel about the ARPA funds application, where he signed his name to a document that stated gunfire noise pollution is a public health crisis, where he stated the police have received numerous complaints about the noise and the disruption that is causing, where he stated that gunfire affects students, and where he stated an indoor range would serve the department's needs to properly train officers. You need to ask the colonel why he reversed course, contradicting himself on these irrefutable facts. You need to ask why for officers to drive to Situate is considered an inconvenient, but it's not an inconvenient for me to be told to leave my home 12 hours, 122 days a year, up to 12 hours a day. You need to ask why Tom Zandelis misled the Planning Commission and why he did not correct his mistake after he received videos of the gunfire. You need to ask why Zandelis sees no money on the books for rental income. You need to ask, where's the mayor's land deal? Was that made up to sound good in the debates? You need to ask why the dire warnings from a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a professor of epidemiology, a professor of pediatrics, why these people are being ignored. You need to ask why a middle school principal is being sought after as a medical expert. Finally, you need to ask a 3-term mayor, your colleague, Mr. Trafficante, what it's like to have the fortitude to do the right thing for his constituents in the face of opposition from every direction. I am here tonight fighting for my home. I am here tonight fighting for my life. Vote yes on this ordinance. I deserve no less than to have peace in my home. And I want to leave you with this. There was a murder in Cranston. The body was not found for 6.5 hours. You know what the police chief, the colonel said in the press conference? Quote, "What's unusual was that there's 4 very distinct shots that go off and not a single person called the police." Vote yes on this ordinance so that never happens again. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? Please come up and state your name and address.
My name is Alfred Schoninger. I lived in Cranston on Scotland Road for over 50 years. I also owned a family business in Cranston for 50 years, over 50 years. I'm here tonight to support the gun ordinance. I want to first say that for the past 10 years plus that we've been going on this, it's been thrown in our face that the range has been there. Believe me, it's been just a pistol range. It's only been over the past 10 years, and I'm sure all these young gentlemen behind me will admit that the guns from the past 10 years that they're using now is 100 times louder than they were when it was the pistol range. They have to admit that. I also like to say that on the past 10 years, we've been kind of lied to with false promises. One of them was that that they can never, that we were against the training of the police. We were never against the training of the police. Every city has to have their police trained. They all don't come here. So there's many other places they can get. And as Senator Brandon said, that they already offered by Smithfield that they can go there. So there are several other places they can go. So it's not about that. The mayor also said that he's got the grant. I don't know why they put it in the COVID to enclose it. They swore that. He campaigned on that. That went under the water. Then he also said he found land. They got land. They're going to move it. Another false accusation to us. So we really don't know what to do. They also said they work with the schools. And I find it very hard to believe if they work with the schools, why they're shooting all day and why they're shooting when they're having their final exams. If they're working with them, they're not doing a very good job at that. That's for sure. One of the craziest things that I did find out in the past 10 years trying to find a solution to this problem is the one thing that's in common that everybody says is if there was a neighbor, our next door neighbor that was shot, none of us would call the police. I mean, that's got to be a safety hazard. Come on, think about that. That's got to be real. I mean, that's the only thing that everybody says. A lot of people say they're with the gun, they're against the gun, but they all admit that they would not call. And that's very, 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 very sad. Obviously, the other thing they keep saying that there's only 2 ladies, and I'd like to thank them for running this organization for the past 10 years. And it's not, because we have hundreds of names. We've been through this right from the beginning, the past 10 years or so. The other thing that we're finding real hard to do is finding out, again, where was all the money? Where's all the money going? If all these, we had FBI there, we had ACI guards there, we had Massachusetts plates going up there shooting. Where's the money? We looked at all the information records that were given to us, ain't in there. Ain't in there. Ain't in there. It's just too bad. And lastly, how about all that lead? All the thousands and thousands of bullets that have been shot up there. When's the last time you cleaned it out? Did you ever think of that? Or you're breathing it while you're shooting your big, powerful guns? Lastly, I'd like to say this. I would like to ask each committee member, before you cast your vote tonight, ask yourself one thing. If I had a child right now that went to one of those 2 schools, not 10 years ago when you went, not all these years ago, I'm talking about right now, tomorrow, The next day, every day we have to put up with the guns. If your child did that, or how about your mother or dad that lived over there for 50 years, finally retired, but they got to hear this every day. What would your vote be? Please consider voting this. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? Going once, twice? Mr. James, anyone online that would like to speak on this matter?
We do have public comment online.
Okay, let's see. How are you? If you could state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes, or you speak your mind.
I've just notified her to unmute.
All right, is anyone else online that would like to speak? We could come back to her.
Here we go.
How you doing, Jamie Banks? If you could please say your name and address.
Yes, hi, everybody, and thank you for this hearing. It's really been pretty remarkable to listen to. So I'm the founder and president of Quiet Communities. You heard our executive director talk very eloquently. You've heard Erica Walker, you've heard Dr. Ritchie, and what I had prepared to say really is redundant at this point. What I did want to add is that some of the physiology that's involved when people hear high impulse noise like this. This is something that causes stress, it causes startle. It's not just saying people that hear gunfire are more likely to have disease. You can actually image what happens to the brain when people react to sound. And what happens is that a portion of the brain called the amygdala is activated. It sets off what's called the autonomic nervous system, which then is responsible for causing the release of stress hormones and neurotransmitters. And that sets off a cycle of inflammation and oxidative stress that end up increasing all risk factors that influence cardiovascular health, cardiometabolic health, mental health, anxiety and depression, and ends up damaging the lining of blood vessels. Now, when this is happening over and over and over again, you become very prone to these diseases over time. And this is what we're talking about here. And then with hearing damage, you're getting the same thing. You're hearing these sounds over and over again. And each time you hear it, it's affecting the structure in the inner ear until the point where you start to get hearing damage. It's especially important for the police force who's training, but also for people that are being exposed to this at relatively close range. And as you heard, this also impairs children's learning. And just as a last point, I want to say also that there's science to show that there's a sensitization effect. So hearing noise for the first time is one thing, but that experience then sensitizes you to even more damage upon repetition. So I'll just stop there and say there's a lot of science. There's actually thousands of articles published on the effects of noise on health. I serve as chair of the Noise and Health Committee of the American Public Health Association. We put out a policy statement on noise, and it's something that's getting increasing attention, whether it comes from guns or a variety of other sources. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Mr. James, anyone else online that would like to speak on this matter?
We have one more.
Hi, can you hear us?
Hi, yep, can you guys hear me now?
Yes, if you could just state your name and address and speak your mind.
Thank you, sorry about that. My name is Brittany Barber. I live at 104 Auburn Street in Cranston, obviously. I just want to start off by saying that I fully support our officers and all the hard work that they do to keep us safe. I understand the importance of our officers being able to train. With that being said, children and staff deserve the opportunity to work and learn in a healthy and safe environment. Normalizing the sounds of gunfire is detrimental to our town It's going to impede individuals' ability to recognize a real danger. I wish that we didn't live in a time where gun violence, especially in learning environments, is occurring so frequently in our country, but unfortunately, it's the current reality that we're living in. Time is of the essence in an emergency. I'm sure that's not an argument here. Everyone needs to be able to recognize danger as soon as possible. Every second counts. Not only is it impacting our children and educators negatively and impacting learning, it's also impacting residents of the area. No one should have to hear gunfire day after day and have it normalized. I really wish that we do right by our community and stop impacting residents in a way that I feel is negative. I do not have to hear the gun violence. Not violence, excuse me, the gunfire. I'm not near the area. I'm on the other side, but I'm just here as a good neighbor. And I really urge you guys to please consider passing this ordinance. We really need to find a resolution on this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else online? Mr. James?
There is no other online public comment.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Last chance. At this time, I am closing public comment, and we are going to recess for 5 minutes.
Everybody ready? All right, let's go. Calling the meeting back to order. It is, according to the ordinance meeting back to order, it is 8:33 PM. Clerk, I think you have to take a roll for attendance, no? Okay, all right, no roll. So at this time, I'm gonna go into ordinance 12/25/01. -01S, ordinance and amendment of Title 8, Chapter 20, Section 70 of the City of Cranston Code of Ordinance entitled Special Activities. At this time, I am opening up for discussion. Councilman Trafficante, the floor, Councilman Trafficante, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want everybody to sit back and relax. This issue has been going on since 2021. And a few more hours is certainly not going to kill us. And I'm hopeful that once we get through this history, so to speak, that this ordinance will come to a successful conclusion. No one has to convince me and tell me about gunfire and the impact of gunfire. I'm living proof of that. My 4 years of military experience, I have a pension at the present time because of a loss of hearing due to gunfire. And that's why I have compassion for the people who live next to a gun range. So bear with me. However, before I get into the substance of the ordinance, there are a few issues I wish to clarify and put to bed. There seems to be some concern by the police membership that this ordinance before you this evening is anti-police legislation. I can appreciate the concern in light of the anti-police sentiment creeping into several of our major cities throughout the United States. So for the record, let me assure this council, this administration, the police membership, that I have no intent to do such a thing. This legislation that's before us tonight is nothing more than a quality of life issue, nothing more, nothing less. I've served the city council for many years. I served as mayor for 14 years. I served as elected official for 42 years. And during that period of time, I've given the Cranston Police Department total unwavering support for their composition, for their leadership, for their training, and certainly for their weaponry. And in the order of my political career, which is coming to an end, I have no intent in changing that philosophy. And if anyone dares to question that support, I'm prepared to go to war with you. Council members, this legislation before you is the furthest thing from being anti-police. The ordinance does not attempt to defund any aspect of police funding. It does not attempt to reduce police manpower. It does not attempt to close the police range. It does not attempt to relocate the police range. It does not attempt to enclose the police range. We lost that opportunity, but I'll get back to that. And it certainly does not attempt to change or reduce the Cranston police weaponry. Council members, the legislation before you is a genuine attempt to improve the quality of life for those taxpayers and Cranstonians who reside in the gun range neighborhood. That's exactly what it is. They are certainly deserving of such consideration. Our constituents deserve to enjoy some quality of life in their home and certainly in the backyard. And that's why they pay taxes, as you all know. And please, I don't want to hear, as some officials have stated in the past, they should have known better to purchase a home next to a gun range. That is, in my opinion anyway, a selfish and irresponsible response. My response is, what was the city thinking back in the 1960s and the 1970s to build city streets adjacent to a gun range and then provide occupancy permits to build homes on those particular streets? So the blame goes both ways. Council members, that insignia above the council president's head reads in Latin, "While I watch, I care." That was the oath that we all took as councilors to watch and protect the health, safety, and welfare of our Cranstonians and have an attitude of caring and a fortitude to act if the aforementioned is in need of attention. And most certainly, our great police department deserves the same consideration and attention as well. Members of the council, simply put, all I'm attempting to accomplish with this legislation is to find a happy medium where the Cranston Police Department can continue to provide comprehensive training at the range and simultaneously provide the neighbors with some small semblance of a quality life. Nothing more, nothing less, as I said earlier. That's it in a nutshell. And if I am going to be ridiculed or condemned for doing so, so be it. I'm a big boy. I've been wearing long pants for a very long time. Council members, this gun range issue has been debated before the administration and previous city councils for the past 5 years, since 2021, and it remains unresolved. In my estimation, that it's ridiculous and, more importantly, irresponsible. No issue before the city should last 4 or 5 years and not be resolved diplomatically. The fact is that 2/3 of this council were not present during the gun range debate for the last 4 years. And I'm hopeful after I provide you with the following history that you will put this issue to rest successfully. I assure you the information I provide you is not going to be bullmuck, and I'm not going to shoot from the hip, and I'm not trying to embarrass any particular individual. Everything I say can be documented either by recordings, by documents, by hearing testimony, or by newspaper articles. In 2005, the City Council passed an ordinance, Title 8, entitled Special Activities Prohibited. And it speaks to the maximum allowable sound pressure levels. And it identifies distinct premises. For example, residential premises, in the morning, 55 decibels, in the evening, 50. Commercial premises, 65 decibels, 60 in the evening. Industrial premises, 80 decibels, 75 in the evening. Public premises, 75 decibels in the morning, 70 in the evening. And it goes on further to identify other prohibited activities. I won't go through all of them, but just name a few. Vehicle motors, exhaust discharge, public nuisance, loud conversation, fireworks, trash compacting, music amplification, construction equipment. Doesn't it stand to reason that the gun range should be identified with a prohibitive noise level as well? And the ordinance is here if anybody cares to look at it. In November 2023, in the Cranston Herald, even Chief Winquist stated the gun range property the gun range property is zoned as special use open space and is designated as a public premise. According to the city's noise ordinance, the maximum allowed decibels for the property is 75 dBA during day hours and 70 during the evening hours. The next question is, over the years, has our elected officials or appointed city officials expressed a concern about the gun range? And the answer is unequivocally yes. In 2024, during the mayoral debate, the mayor was asked, should the police range be relocated because of the number of complaints? The mayor, yes, I am working on that as we speak. The mayor showed compassion at that time, and he knew there was a problem. October the 3rd, 2024, in the Cranston Herald, Director Moretti confirmed what the mayor had stated. And he states, and I quote, in recent months, the mayor has been looking into the feasibility of relocating the range comprehensively in respect to overall public safety. So he confirmed what the mayor's compassion was and concern was. In 2024, in October, the Cranston Herald stated, the gun range and schools are located in my ward. I'm talking about Councilman at the time, Council President Chris Pleblakis, who's now, of course, a state representative. And he states, I am sympathetic to the neighbors living directly next to a police range, which is why I support in closing it. Doing it will not only mitigate the noise, but also provide the police department with a state-of-the-art facility where they can train more frequently. In October 2024, Councilman Capabiano, who sits here tonight, a fellow Republican, agreed with Plevlakis, and I quote, "We have one of the finest police forces in the state. We need to give them the need to protect us." And with that said, I look forward to being part of the effort of enclosing the gun range in order to keep our neighborhood quiet while also keeping it safe. In November 2023, Providence Journal, Zachary DeLuca, the mayor's spokesperson, indicated, and I quote, "The city is still exploring avenues for funding as well as eyeing other potential solutions, including a new location to mitigate the issue." So again, the mayor's office and the administration had concerns and they were trying to resolve the issue. And I have all the articles here if anybody cares to look them over. Did the local residents express concern? Unequivocally, yes. In October of 2022, a petition was submitted to the administration. The petition was signed by 95 residents surrounding the gun range from 14 different streets: Laconia, Midland, Phoenix, West Hill, Scotland, Wayland, Glen Ridge, Situate, Preston, Lodge, Hope Hill Terrace, and Invenia, Angel, and Short Hill Drive. That petition was submitted, like I said, to the administration, and they did not only just sign their name, they put next to it the reason why they were signing it. And just to name a few. I've lived here for 65 years, and the gun range firing is unbearable. Very loud all hours of the day. Trying to sell my house sounds like a war zone. That's just a few of the responses that we received on that particular petition. We're outside groups using the police range. In the police annual reports from 2016 to 2023, 19 different departments used it. Federal, state, municipal, and private groups were permitted to utilize the Cranston gun range. Director Moretti reported to the city council in September of 2004 that the city collected $37,000 in rental income because of the permits that were given. And I have here, of course, all the liability documents that were signed by those departments. Have medical professionals addressed the dangers of more exposure to city, more dangers to exposure to the city target range? The Center for Disease Control, the CDC, stated in the Cranston Herald on March 16th, prolonged exposure to noise above 70 decibels can cause hearing damage to Cranston residents, especially those closest to the range. The following doctors sent similar testimony before the council or to the administration since 2021. Dr. Megan Ramey, an expert on gun violence, stated in the Go Local Providence Journal, noise pollution is real and has a real mental and physical consequence for all individuals. Dr. Melissa Jenkins, PhD in neuropsychologist, sent correspondence to the administration in September of 2022. Exposure to noise is in one's home from any source leads to both psychological and physical adverse outcomes, including anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, and tinnitus. Dr. Patricia Ritchie, who spoke to you tonight, testified before the city council expressing similar psychological and physical adverse outcomes, and she called for the immediate shutdown of the range. Eric Walker, assistant professor of epidemiology, the founder of the Community Noise Lab at Brown University, stated peak noise levels of 82 decibels were recorded by researchers from Brown University Noise Lab. These far exceed the levels of safe hearing for our children. Did the Major Patalano and Chief Winston acknowledge that noise pollution at Green was a problem? Did they show compassion? Yes, they did. In November of 22 and September of 22, to mitigate the noise pollution problem at the range, the city and police department submitted 2 pending grants to enclose the facility. Both the Major and the Chief signed their names to that grant application, which reads, the gunfire noise, number 1, the gunfire noise is a public health crisis. Number 2, the Cranston Police Department has received numerous complaints from residents about the noise pollution and the disruption it is causing. Number 3, the noise pollution affects students. Number 4, an indoor range would serve the Cranston Police Department's need to properly train police officers maintaining the required law enforcement standards. And lastly, on March 5th, the Planning Commission had before a request for $5 million to convert the police department's firing range from an open-air facility to an enclosed range. At the meeting, and I'm glad Mr. Frias is here tonight, moved to remove the project from the FY 25-26 capital budget. Chairman Frias stated that, and he spoke with both principals at Cranston West and Cranston East, who, by the way, are certainly not medical experts. And of course, they reported that they had received no complaints from the students. Frias further stated that he voted against this project year after year. He then stated, which is disappointing, you have to have a necessity, and I don't see the necessity. After all that testimony, I don't understand why a person would even say that, coming from the mayor, coming from the director of administration, coming from the council president, coming from the council, the sitting councilman, coming from the general public, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In the transcript, the chairman asked the following questions to make and made the following statements. After the meeting, Mr. Frias told the press he will continue to veto any future funding request to enclose the gun range because it is the homeowner's fault for buying in the neighborhood. Then the questions came directly to Mr. Zadelis, the finance director. The noise level from the area is consistent with our zoning ordinances and noise ordinances. Mr. Zadelis replied, I believe so. Well, there was a case where it did exceed the noise ordinance. It was studied by Brown University. My understanding is the city is now getting noise suppressors. That is correct statement. Frias in the hope that those noise suppressors would reduce the amount of noise. Mr. Zadelis replied, that was the intent of purchasing the suppressors. He then went on to say, if the gunfire is not breaking the noise ordinance, why does the city need to spend thousands of dollars on a noise suppressor? Great question. Number 4, Mr. Frias, I read in the articles in the area being used less by outside groups and is used by the department, the local police department only. Mr. Zadelis replied, it's my understanding based on rental revenue that we have, that is correct. That is a correct statement. We know in the past it has been used by outside groups. And recently, of course, with the chief's and the chief's direction has been reduced to 3 particular groups. What's disappointing to me is that we had an opportunity in our hands to basically resolve this issue. And I'm disappointed that the City Planning Commission did not confer with the mayor in terms of his compassion and his concern about the gun range. He did not confer with Steve Pavlakos, who expressed an interest to cover the gun range because of noise ordinance. I'm disappointed that he did not confer with Councilman Campabiano, who voiced support for closing the gun range because of the noise problems. And I'm disappointed he didn't confer with the police and the major who was seeking grants to enclose the gun range. Apparently, the City Plan Commission did not read the petition from the 95 residents who had to endure this noise. Nor did they read the testimony of several specialist doctors who voiced strong objections to the gun range. You know, in my 42 years as an elected official, I've never witnessed anything like this. I'm kind of embarrassed for the city of Cranston that our City Plan Commission did not take so much into consideration when they vetoed the opportunity to solve this problem immediately. Council members, I've always believed that the greatness of our community is most accurately measured by the passionate actions of our city officials. And that takes fortitude, takes a lot of fortitude. So I want you to remember in your deliberations what that symbol says. While I watch, I care. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilman Trafficante. At this time, I would ask the Director of Administration if he could allow the police chief to say a few words.
Yes.
I guess you're going to speak, okay?
Yes, please, but I'd like to have some comments, yeah. Just something to note, because it did come up this evening, it came up before. There has been accusation that the mayor or myself was trying to intimidate the council, I believe, by the show of force, if you will, or the public showing of police department members at a prior meeting. But I just want you to know that, yes, there are many, many police officers here this evening, but I believe they come out of their willingness to be here. I'm not aware of any influence that we placed on these officers to be here, the mayor, myself, or anyone in the administration. So there is really, so I just want that to be, clear that there's no, that I have not, or the mayor or anyone else in the administration has not influenced that group. Something to realize too is that Cranston Police Department administration and others are pretty independent. They are independent of the politics in the city. And frankly, I don't think they're very intimidated nor influenced by the mayor or myself when it comes to their own convictions. I don't think their integrity should be questioned by their presence here this evening. However, I believe that the major reason why they're here probably is because they believe strongly in their own beliefs. So I just wanted that to be on the record. Thank you for allowing me to say that. In recent years, Mayor Hopkins and Colonel Winquist have implemented several policies and physical accommodations to reduce and mitigate sound resulting from use of the police range. So as not to be redundant, I defer to the Colonel to enumerate those measures. In consideration of those here this evening, please be assured that where reasonably possible and we're not asked to compromise the effectiveness of the range, this administration will continue to pursue further sound mitigation that is practical and affordable to our taxpayers. As recent as a month or so ago, the Colonel and Lieutenant Digon, who operates or runs the range, testified effectively to the City Council as to how the police department has been a good neighbor in addressing concerns of the 15 residents who spoke in favor of this ordinance this evening. The bottom line is that there needs to be a balance between considerate use of the range and mandatory police training. The mayor believes that Colonel Winquist and the Cranston Police Department are doing all they can to strike that balance. Let us not forget, however, the tragic event that occurred a few weeks ago, just several miles from here. We all witnessed the horror and devastation that a mass shooting could do to human life and society as a whole. Our state was fortunate that our police personnel were some of those officers that responded to the Brown University incident. It is imperative to note, it was through the use of our police range, and I'll repeat, it is through the use of our police range that our officers were properly trained to be in the position to respond and be ready for engagement. The mayor will ensure that our police force is equipped and trained with all that is necessary to best protect our residents. God forbid of a potential incident across the street at Western Hills Middle School, Cranston West, or at any of our other schools. Our police officers need to be prepared without inhibiting their ability to respond. The mayor wants to be clear that this administration will continue to support the Cranston Police Department in their training efforts to serve and protect our residents, especially in these unsettling times. He also will not lose sight of the concerns of the neighboring residents. In listening to the residents here this evening, this ordinance falls short of their wishes to prevent gunfire sound emanating from the range, which is the core of their concerns. This ordinance is not their solution. Please be advised that any ordinances to diminish the effectiveness of our police department to protect our residents will meet with the mayoral veto. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity for the statement. If you'd like to have the colonel, he's certainly here for you this evening.
Yes, Director, please. The colonel could please come up.
Thank you, members of the council, members of the ordinance committee. Chief of Staff Moretti's passing out some information that you can have. I ask that it be included on the record.
So move, Mr. Chair.
May I have a motion to include the chief's correspondence and also a letter from Robert Murray into the record?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Ayes have it. Continue, Chief. Sorry.
Thank you. So in the perfect world, if I had $5 million, I'd have an enclosed range tomorrow. But we all know that we made attempts to do that and it didn't work out. And I don't see a lot of extra money hanging around in the city or at the State House. So we have to be realistic about that. There's several officers here tonight. They came on their own volition. They count on that range to practice with their weapons, to face a life and death situation. So their lives depend on that range, and that's why they've sat here patiently tonight for the last several hours to listen to the testimony. They know how important that range is. I know how important that range is. I also know that, as Chief of Staff already mentioned, we had 22 officers that responded to the Brown University shooting. We were there within minutes. And I knew when they were responding there that I had no qualms that they were going to be safe. They had the weapons that they needed, and they had the training that they needed. So we need to make sure that that continues here in the city of Cranston. We're one of the largest police departments in the state. We're very fortunate to have our own range, and it's probably one of the best ranges in the entire state of Rhode Island. I can tell you that there's other ranges in the state, including where I used to train when I was with the Rhode Island State Police in Foster, Rhode Island, where I qualified on a regular basis and trained. That range is in close proximity to a neighborhood. We use rifles there, shotguns, and also pistols. Warwick Police Department, they do the same. Their range is in close proximity to a neighborhood. They're not here. They're not facing scrutiny. They're not here facing mandated suppressors on their pistols. And I'll tell you why that is. At the end of the day, suppressors are not conducive to a pistol, not for the training that we do, not for in the field. You'd be hard pressed to find any police department in the region or across the country that actually require officers to train with suppressors. In addition to being the chief of this great department, I'm also the chair of the Rhode Island Police Officers Commission on Standards and Training. And as the chair, I routinely review all qualification courses from every police department in the state to make sure they meet the minimum standards by law. And I don't know a single police department that has to train with a suppressor. And I can tell you why that is. First off, a suppressor adds 6 to 9 inches to a pistol. To carry a weapon of that length, and also it increases the weight of the weapon itself. So at the end of the day, whatever we train with at the range is what we have to carry. You're not going to train with a suppressor and then go out with a weapon that's significantly shorter or lighter and go out in the field. That creates liability. It creates officer safety issues. And it just, that's not how we train, and we should not be training in that way. In addition to the fact that the suppressors cause accuracy issues as well, the trajectory of the shot is also affected by a suppressor, which is, again, why they're not carried in the field. So I don't think anybody's intent, and I have great respect for Mayor Trafficani and the people that are here that voiced their opinion, but I don't think anybody wants to put any Cranston police officer in harm's way because we're worried about a noise complaint. And I say that respectfully. At the end of the day, you have information in front of you about suppressors. To try to draw a weapon that's 6 to 8 inches longer from a holster increases a risk for officers. We operate in closed spaces. We have to clear a room or a house, and we're in a closet space. You're not going to want an extra length on the barrel. Weapons retention, it's all affected. And it also increases the chance of a weapon malfunction, which is one of the worst case scenarios. If an officer's in a live fire situation, that they have a malfunction with the weapon. So we all know that there's a lot of issues with it. Heat and carbon blowback, it's actually using a suppressor. It's a health risk for the officers themselves. Never mind the aspect of a gas being pushed back in your face. I know that's not the intent, but that's what would happen here. And also I noticed there was no fiscal note attached to this particular ordinance. And I broke down the cost of if we had to implement suppressors. And at the end of the day, it'd be about $1,025 to $1,550 per officer times 153 officers at a cost of $237,000. I'm sorry, $237,150. So there is a cost to this. We have to retrofit every single one of our weapons. We'd have to take it to an armorer. We'd have to have it pinned and welded onto our weapons. We'd have to purchase the things. We have to purchase new holsters. And again, even if you offered me the money tomorrow, I'd be dead set against it because officer safety, there's no price on an officer's life. And I'm not going to put officers out there at risk because we're worried about noise coming from the range. It's an unfunded mandate, this ordinance is, and has limited operational benefit. Even if you equip a pistol with a suppressor, you're looking at a reduction of 20 to 40 decibels, which is minimal. Okay, so it's not, you're not going to hear it. It's not like the movies or Hollywood where, you know, you hear it's a silencer, if you will. That's not the case. So you could go spend the money, yeah, but at the end of the day, you're not going to get the result that you're looking for. Suppressors are for rifles. That's primarily where they're used. And we're currently using them as an accommodation for the neighbors. We purchased rifle suppressors and they're currently being used at the range. So I just want to make that clear. I also want to address Representative Potter, he's here. I don't know who you spoke to at the Providence Police Department, but after your meeting, I spoke to Colonel Perez directly, and he absolutely said he cannot accommodate the Cranston Police Department at their range in Situate. He has over 400 officers that qualify twice a year, okay, twice a year. We qualify once a year. He has outside agencies using that facility as well. He can't even get some of his rifle teams in to use the range at Situate. So that's not an option. I want to make that very clear. I got that directly from Colonel Perez through my conversations, who I'm very friendly with. And he made that very clear. He would accommodate us if he could, but he can't. So at the end of the day, you know, we're looking at cost, number one, mandatory cost, that liability, and we're also looking at safety. Those are three things, and that's why this ordinance cannot pass. I don't think anybody wants to put an officer in that position. So I did give you a lot of the information. I also want to point out all the steps that we have taken throughout the years since I've been the police chief up there. And you can see there's almost 13 bullet points here. I don't want to go through each and every one of them, but to say that we, you know, ignored the complaints of the neighbors couldn't be farther for the truth. And every year we're looking for new technology. How can we reduce what we're doing there. By state law, officers have to fire a minimum of 100, not 300, 100 shots a year to qualify and train. So we're currently doing that. We're doing the minimum. Honestly, we probably should be qualifying twice a year. That's like most departments do. But out of respect for the neighbors, we have not done that. So there is a balance that has been struck. You know, we're continuing to look at that. I welcome further discussions with the mayor. He's obviously supportive of trying to resolve this issue, but short of getting, you know, the money, we did look at, I want to mention, we did look at sound mitigation, and we got a quote of close to 150,000 from New England Soundproofing, and that would be hanging like sound absorption panels from the rafters at the range. And then, you know, with the caveat that we can't guarantee this is going to have any effect. It's an outdoor range. You know, there's a rock ledge wall that is in the backstop. So at the end of the day, we're not going to throw money away with the hopes that it's gonna make a difference. We've gone as far as we can, in my opinion. If you look at everything we've done, we advertise when we're using the range. This particular year, yes, we use the range a lot more. We transitioned to new weapons, new pistols, so we have new pistols, and we also had to train with the suppressors as well. So at the end of the day, this year was a year that we used it more often than not. But next year we'll be back to our regular usage, which is a lot less. So hopefully, you know, I answered some of your questions. If you have any questions, thank you for the sign in the back. I see it. Anyway, if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Chief. We'll probably circle back around with you. I want to start with Councilman Bernardo.
Thank you. I have a couple questions for the chief. But before I get into those, I just want to say that I have the utmost respect for the police department. I have the utmost respect, especially for Councilman Trafficani, who I've known since I was born and has given me a lot of political lessons in my life. And I'm glad to see that despite your age, you still got it, my friend. So I have just basically two questions for the chief, and they're along the same line. You already answered one of my questions. Was does a suppressor create a detriment to training? It sounds like that answer is yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's a pretty simple one. The other question I have, and this is, you know, something I'm thinking about for perhaps the future, is the Cranston Police Chief, which would be you, is the Cranston Police Department in support of eventually, perhaps maybe, enclosing the range? Would that be a detriment to training, and would that inhibit the police department's ability to properly train in any way?
No, but we would welcome that, but I want to point out, and I think a gentleman that spoke earlier, rifle fire would have to, some of that would have to be outside still because of the length of the range and how we have to shoot. But the 90% of the training would be indoors. But bear in mind, we did tour indoor facilities, and contrary to what somebody said earlier, one of the facilities was not even in a close proximity neighborhood, and it's an indoor range, and he said we still get complaints. So it's not 100%. You're not going to hear anything. And I can also tell you that the maintenance cost, this is a small range too. It was about $120,000 a year because of the filtration system. You look at all the lead that's contained inside an indoor facility. So you have to bear in mind it's not just enclosing what we have now. There's a whole aspect to it, that construction aspect to it.
Thank you, Chief. I mean, this issue is like a trifecta. We're at the crossroads of quality of life, public safety, and of course, money. And that is a recipe for a real tough issue. And I thank everybody that came out here tonight on both sides of this issue to try to educate us, to allow us to make the best decision possible. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. This time,
I'm not on this committee, but if you know, I did have
Councilman Ritz.
comments I wanted to share. I think with this issue, we need balance. You know, we need balance between the police department, but also respecting the neighbors in the neighborhood. You know, I'm a former school committee member. I spent many events at the school. I've heard from teachers. they do not feel it's an issue at both of the schools. They appreciate more than anything having the police department that close to them. I also have family members that live in the neighborhood right there. They rarely hear the gunfire. When they do, I know it's a different sound, but they said it's no more disruptive than people cutting the lawn in the neighborhood. That's how impactful it is to them. You know, based on what we've heard tonight, I think the police department's gone above and beyond what they can do to mitigate this without jeopardizing their training. You know, based on what I've heard tonight, I think we found that balance the best we can right now. If this moved to a full council vote, all due respect to the folks that are here and my colleagues, I'm a no vote on this. I'm open to other ideas. If you want to build a new ice skating rink and make that one the indoor range, maybe that's a discussion we have. But I think right now, this ordinance, the way it is, it's too impactful to the training of our officers. I'll also say a lot of folks tonight have talked about how they respect the police department, how we have one of the top police departments in the state, well-trained ones. I couldn't agree more. I think they should be more involved in this discussion, should be leading discussion. And again, with all due respect to everyone there, safety is the #1 issue for me. And that's more important than what we're speaking about tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Campopiano.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Colonel Winquist, for your duty and for your fabulous police department. First, I want to say thank you, Councilman Trafficante, for bringing up my quote back, I think it was 3 years ago. And I stand by that quote. And also, I think the first thing that Colonel Winquist said was if he had $5 million, he would close that. So would I. I still stand by that. I'm going to tell you the problems I have with the ordinance. And it seems to be a recurring item that happens over and over again. It was put together, from my understanding, without consulting with the police department. I think if we have a collaborative effort between the police department and the council with a way to resolve this, then we could come up with a more viable solution. I mean, the colonel came up with 5 or 6 reasons why you can't do this, and he was never asked. I think if he was asked what could be done, can the suppressor be used, we would have known we couldn't do it. You need to work together in order to come up with some kind of solution. I met with some of the residents in that area, and I sympathize with them. But I don't think we can just enforce something on the police department that just can't be done. We need to work together, and we need to find out a solution that works both ways. So, like Councilman Ritz said, I can't support this until we have a solution that works both ways. Thank you.
Councilwoman Vice President Arroyo.
I appreciate everyone coming tonight. I know people are very passionate about their feelings tonight. We did listen. We do understand that. Before I was on city council, I was on the school committee, and this was an issue brought to us on the school committee. I did sit with the principal at Cranston West at the time, who's now at Cranston East, and he said, absolutely not, it was an issue with the students. He actually went to the school, so I understand the difference in the guns then, but he said no. Since it resurfaced, I spoke to the principal there at Cranston West and Western Hills. They both said it wasn't an issue. I have a friend that's in between jobs and she's substitute teaching at Cranston West. She said it is not a problem when she walks through the parking lot, she hears it. It does not bother her. And full disclosure, at the end of this year, I'm moving to this neighborhood. So I've sat in the yard, I've listened. The gravel pit making the noise is a lot louder. Sometimes I'm in the yard and we can hear the football games, the bands, very loud. We have to have balance here, but I'm not willing to be the safety of our police department, whether it's been any issue since being on juvenile hearing board, school committee, or city council. If I have a question, they've always been responsive to me. I can text or call the union representative and he gets back to me within 2 to 3 hours with my answers. This should all be worked, everyone sitting at a table with a discussion, not an angry face attacking anyone. We should all work together. And maybe down the road, there will be some solution or an indoor gun range, but the rifles wouldn't be able to go in it. When I have a whole page of concerns with this, but one thing I did notice was the time difference. If we started at 9 a.m., that means an officer getting off duty at 7. Now we're gonna have to hold over and we're gonna have to pay 4 hours of overtime, which is another fiscal note. Warwick starts at 7 and 8 a.m. to qualify. I've talked to many police departments over the last 4 months, and I'm not quite sure, but I've been told Cranston only qualifies their officers once a year,
That's correct.
but our surrounding departments do twice a year?
Some do, yes.
Okay,
Providence is one of them.
all right, so, and Warwick does twice a year, I was told today.
So, yes.
Okay. I will not be supporting this in any way it is tonight. I'm sorry, I just can't do it right now. I'm not about to put safety of public servants at risk. Sorry.
Councilwoman Graziano.
Thank you. I want to just extend my gratitude to everyone that came out tonight, residents, our city police department. I really appreciate it because I don't remember who said it earlier, but somebody mentioned that 2/3 of us are new to council. And we were not here initially, although we have been aware of the situation. We have not been thoroughly educated. You know, at this magnitude. So I'm grateful for everybody this evening. And I did a little research when I was running for city council and this came up. And one of the questions that I asked the municipality, again, I know everyone says that it's a smaller one, but I asked about the suppressors. That was one of my first questions that I asked about. And they said, absolutely not, that they cannot train with the suppressors because it's not real life scenario. So, I mean, I always knew that before I was educated here tonight. So this, I'm actually surprised there's even a cost associated with it because, you know, on my end, it was always just a no. So that was, I'm happy that that was presented tonight because it was something that I was going to ask about and have put on the record. One of my other questions to the Colonel is the public posting of the range schedule. How is that done? And maybe that's not through the police department, through the administration. If somebody wants to answer like how that is done.
Lieutenant Digon, who's the in charge of the range facility, has a range schedule, and then he provides that to City Hall, and then City Hall posts it on the website.
Okay. I would love, you know, after this is all done to have like a more deep conversation with the administration and police department. Maybe we can do a better job of that. I don't know if it's a bad job. I'm not saying that. I'm just mentioning maybe there's something more we can do there. That just came to mind during these discussions. And then the other item is I also read this state law that you provided to the council. So thank you. I appreciate that. And I was going to ask the council's attorney if he could give a little information on this. So this is section 1147-62 rifle ranges, because I read this too.
Thank you, Councilwoman. So this is Rhode Island General Laws 1147-62. It's entitled Rifle Ranges Immunity from Prosecution, Criminal or Civil. With all due respect to the administration and to the police chief, the way I read this ordinance is that it prevents individuals, other people that would try to sue a owner of a gun range if they violate a noise ordinance or a local noise ordinance or whatever. It doesn't prohibit them having a noise ordinance, or basically it prohibits the person from suing to enjoin the use of it because of noises. There's nothing in this, nothing in the state law, as I read it, that would prohibit a municipality from imposing voluntarily, if they want to their own noise ordinances that they would enforce themselves. But this is third party. This prevents third parties from suing owners of gun ranges from suing because of a violation of the noise ordinance. Gives them immunity from that suit.
Thank you. And through the chair, if you don't mind, one more question.
Go ahead.
Oh my God.
For the chief?
It's for Mr. Mess. Never mind, I'm gonna have to, I totally spaced now as you were walking away.
Sorry.
No, it's not your fault. Okay, I'm good for now.
We can
Thank
come back. Chief, I just have a question, then we'll go to Council President.
Just through the chair. Can I just speak briefly?
Just state your name so this.
Yeah, sure. Christopher Rawson, Deputy Solicitor. All due respect, there's been a lot of due respect today. All due respect to Mike, I think if you look under Section B, under the state statute that he cited, it does state no standards and rules adopted by any state, city, or town for limiting levels of noise in terms of decibel may occur in the outdoor atmosphere shall apply to the ranges exempted from liability. I would argue, though, I understand you're saying it's limited by liability civilly, but I would argue the nature of this is by putting a ordinance as to decibels to an outdoor range, I would think would be a counter to state law. Not just on a civil third party, but just actually creating a regulation, any standard of rules. So I would disagree with Mike on your solicitor on that. I would argue that at least the fourth part of your ordinance would not be enforceable.
Thank you. Chief, I have a question for you. Thank you for your service and thank you to the men and women that serve this great city. But the first person that spoke today during public comment, that's my worry. She couldn't differentiate a real shot versus training shot, but the alert. So that's what really got me. And are you willing to implement a push notification?
We already have that.
Okay.
We
So if
have
you have
a
that-
code red. We can pick certain parts of the city. We can push out immediate notifications. And that comment about, like, believe me, if somebody's firing a weapon inside this building, we're all gonna know the difference. You're not gonna say, well, that's somebody in the background. We all know, like, the noise coming from the range does not sound the same as somebody in this building firing a weapon. You're gonna get multiple 911 calls. You're gonna get witnesses. Look what happened at Brown University. They were flooded with phone calls. So they use that logic. I'm really perplexed by it, to be honest with you.
And Chief, I worry a lot. And I understand the range is only open to certain hours, but are our officers, I should say, trained for nighttime situations?
They're required to under state law. So they have to conduct low light level shooting. And that's why we usually conduct it in the fall, because it gets darker earlier, and that way we can get out of there and we don't disturb the neighbors late at night. Usually we're done by 8 o'clock at the latest. And that's only once a year that each officer has to fire a certain number of rounds. It's limited on low light firing, if you will.
And if you were to train in the summer, let's say, because the summer, during the fall, when you're saying, it's 50, 40 degrees outside versus summer when it's 90 degrees on some hot days. If you were to train past 8 o'clock, would you send a push notification to the neighbors?
Well, we would post it on the website if we were gonna, but again, if we were gonna do low light shooting in the summer, we'd be waiting until 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night. That's why we do it in the fall. When it gets
Thank you, Chief.
darker.
That was my main worry. I really felt what the first speaker said. So with that, anyone else before I go to the president? Mayor Traficani.
I can't say I'm not disappointed with the conversation that's been taking place right now. Some of you mentioned that you want to put the police at risk, but absolutely no consideration is being given to the public at risk, the people who live around the gun range. The ordinance that I submitted codifies the 75%, 75 decibels, which is already on the books. Doesn't change that at all. It just gives the residents some semblance of peace and quiet on holidays and part of the weekend. That's what it does. And I think in all fairness, I think we can all agree that certainly should be acceptable. And it certainly doesn't impact the voluminous hours of training because they have almost 10 months of training. I eliminated 12 weeks out of the year in calculating the number of hours they could train. So, like I said, I'm disappointed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And Chief, going on what the mayor said, I don't see why we have to put that on an ordinance. I mean, I think we could all sit down, both sides of the table, and you don't need to open the 4th of July. So I mean, to give you restrictions, it's like telling a doctor, you have to use this light versus that light. And I feel for you and I feel for the residents, but I mean, I just don't see why we have to give you restrictions if you're willing to sit down at the table.
And nobody's firing on the 4th of July. That's, you might hear fireworks, but you're not gonna hear fire shots being fired at the range. People are off, like the training facility is only open Monday through Friday. That's not open on the weekends. It's not open on the holidays. There has to be a range officer there for any officer to use the range. So it's just that's not accurate. That it happens on the weekends or the holidays.
If I really thank you for saying that you're willing to sit down and dialogue with both sides. That's it for me. Anybody else on the council? No, I guess we're gonna finish with the council president.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll keep it very brief. I'm not going to repeat anything. First, I'm going to start. All you know, Councilwoman Bizzari couldn't be with us here tonight. So she sent, it's all right with the chair if I read her statement into the record. Councilman Bizzari says, I want to begin by apologizing for not being present this evening. Unfortunately, I'm ill and unable to attend in person, but I did want my position I did not want my position to go unheard. After reviewing this ordinance and the information presented, I could not support this measure as written. I am and I will continue to be supportive of the Cranston Police Department and its critical role that they play in keeping our city safe. I believe that our officers deserve the tools, training, and facilities necessary to do their jobs effectively, and my position reflects that commitment. Thank you. That was from Councilwoman Bizzari. Sorry. And I'll finish off, and I won't repeat. Listen, to say we didn't listen this evening, no matter where you fall on this issue, we certainly heard a lot of testimony. I appreciate everything that the chief has said, and he's always very thorough and very concise in what he says, and I appreciate the work that you and your officers do in the city to keep us safe. I certainly appreciate my good and great friend and mentor, Mike Trafficani. He always looks out for the citizens, even though sometimes it may not be a popular answer. And I do appreciate what he did and how thorough he was and his willingness to come to the table. I have compassion for the neighbors. I know people who've lived in that area. I've spent time in there myself. I can also tell you, Mike, you know what? I live not that far away. And do I hear the sounds of guns at times? Yes. Do I hear the sounds of the football players and the band and all that? Yes, I do. But I'll be honest with you, personally, I'll say I wasn't disturbed. And I can tell you from my own family, nor were my children who went to school at Western Hills. And it wasn't in the dark ages, it was just a short time ago. At Western Hills, and they went to West and they graduated, and I spoke to them and their friends, even as this issue reemerged, as we began talking about it again. And I'll tell you, it may not be popular. I didn't find a single student who said it concerned them. I know some people will say that they're desensitized. I can only go by what they told me. I had been at games, soccer games, football games with my kids, lacrosse, baseball games, tennis, and it wasn't an issue. It's not to discount what you're saying this evening, but I'm just telling you my experience here. All right. In that matter. I do know a lot of teachers. A lot of experts came before us this evening. I am somewhat of an expert in teaching, and I know a lot of teachers. We socialize with each other, so I've talked to a lot of Cranston teachers. I have yet to come across one teacher administrator who has complained to me about the range. They may exist, but they haven't spoke to me. And like many of my colleagues, I spent 8 years on the school committee and 4 years as its chairman. If there was going to be a complaint, trust me when I tell you, I would have heard it. But I wish the families and the neighbors and the citizens around the area didn't ever have to hear a gunshot again. And I know the chief, his statements, and Councilman Campiano and many of my colleagues say the same thing. But we're weighing that versus the need, the necessity in a very difficult world to protect our citizens and to train our police to be as effective as possible. So weighing those two things, I have to weigh in on the side of the police. And if the police tell me they are the experts, I may be an expert in education, I may, and many people are expert in psychology and sounds and different types of guns, but I'm going to say the chief and the police are the experts in policing, law enforcement, and law enforcement training. And if they're telling me that the things that are contained in this ordinance will impair that, unfortunately, I can't support it. So I will not be able to support it, and I have to support the police in this matter. Mr. Chairman, I thank you.
Thank you. Are there any motions? Seeing none, moving on. Moving to adjourn. May I entertain a motion to adjourn? Yes, I asked for a motion. Nobody spoke. Moving to adjourn. Yeah, are there any motions?
I'm not on the committee. Can I make a motion to approve? Even though I'm not on the committee?
Said, oh, you're not on the committee. I'm sorry. Yes, you cannot. The rules, the rules only.
Third time, are there any motions?
I'm sorry, the rules, just let me say this for the record, so there's no confusion. The rules only allow committee members to make motions from the committee.
Are there any other motions? Seeing none, may I entertain a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Ayes have it. We are adjourned.